Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5 The Zone. Welcome in on a Wednesday morning. Coming up later this morning, about 9 o'clock, we're going to talk with Alex Taylor. He is the Wyoming beat writer for the Wyoming Tribune Eagle and Laramie Boomerang. In addition to giving us a lowdown on what Utah is going to see from the Wyoming Cowboys and a little bit of what to expect from the atmosphere as the Utes go to Laramie for probably the last time, I would think. Hard to believe it's happening now. I can't believe it'll happen again. Obviously, we had the storyline with BYU not that long ago. But in addition to that, Alex is an AP voter, and Alex has a very high opinion of the Utes. I was stunned to see in his vote, and we'll get into this more with him, there are just a handful of people who are ranking the Utes 11th or 12th in their polls as they turn in their votes. And he is in that group, and nobody's got him in the top 10. So literally of the voters, Alex thinks as much of the Utes as pretty much anybody in the country. And that is fairly stunning to me. Why does he think that? What does he see? For a Utah team that hasn't played anybody yet, I'm surprised that they're 11th or 12th. I think there are teams that have registered some quality wins who should be up there. And, Alex believes that the Utes are one of those teams. He's not alone. I saw Brett McMurphy had them at 11. Like I said, there's 5 or 6 people who have them up there. So we'll talk with him coming up at 9 o'clock this morning. All right. Right now, we're going to go up to Ute practice. The Utes with their availability yesterday. A lot of people meeting with the media. We're going to start with Sharrieff Shah, coach of the Corners. Here is the always quotable, always a good interview, Sharrieff Shah.
Sharrieff, you have a unit that has obviously got some experience, but some that are still trying to kind of learn that. Where do you kind of assess your group right now?
Well, early in the season, I'd like to say that the baptism hasn't been as hot as I thought it would be, meaning that kids have made some pretty good plays, and principally talking about Jackson Benning, who comes in and plays nickel. Jackson was primarily a safety, but we moved him inside with the thought and expectation that he would be able to use a lot of his natural ability, his length, his speed, to just make some plays, and he's done that. It doesn't really account for the things that he hasn't done, because we're just a ways away. I mean, I'm sure you guys watched the game carefully. We were out of position too many times, and good teams will make you pay. Better quarterbacks who are more accurate will make you pay. So I'm cautiously, patiently optimistic that we'll learn at a rate that's going to be faster, because it doesn't get any easier for us. You know, some of the boys are playing really well. I don't like the way we're tackling. We're still too inconsistent, but from a coverage standpoint, we're in good position, making throws difficult, a lot more disruptive at the line of scrimmage. So it's on, if I had to grade us right now as a unit, it'd be like a C-. And that's being really gracious on the grades. You know, could have easily been lower.
Coach Whittingham talked about needing more disciplined eyes.
Accurate.
What's been the big point of emphasis for you this week beyond that?
For a cornerback, you have to have a few things, not just your speed and your length and that the things that everybody see, but it's the ability to block out everything but your guy. And that's 60, 70, 80 plays. When you're playing man coverage, perhaps like we do 30 to 42% of the time, you always think that maybe if I just peek, I can see it faster. You don't. Maybe if I look at the quarterback, he'll throw it to me. He won't. They never do. And so having that level of discipline, not just play one, but play 35, play 41, that's what Coach is saying. Because to look at the film, we were good at certain times. We just weren't consistently good. We lost our eyes so many times trying to think that, oh, maybe I can get a feel for what that quarterback is looking at. It makes no difference. Just look at your man. And you say the same thing 1,000 times, and kids think that we're like, oh, Coach, I know. You don't. You just don't. And so just having a level of discipline for a more sustained period, that's what we need. Having good eye discipline, because I'm just telling you, the receivers that we're going to play in a few weeks, it'll hurt you if you're not as sticky as you could possibly be.
Coach, you played in Wyoming. What is your defense going to learn going up there playing in Laramie?
it doesn't make a difference what shape that you think you're in. You're not in enough. Your shape it will pale in comparison to what the elevation will make you feel. That first quarter, your lungs will burn, and you'll think that, oh my God, I can't get any air. What's happening to me? I can't feel my legs. You can feel your legs. You can breathe. But at 7,000 feet, every year that I played up there, and I played up there twice in the years that I played here, it was always tough. Probably about the third or fourth series, you finally feel like, okay, I'm starting to appreciate that my conditioning is starting to kick in. But I told him, I said, so don't get mad at me if I'm not subbing you out as quickly as I would 2 weeks ago. I need you to be able to play sustained drives for a long time, 7, 8, 9, 10 play drives, and deal with man coverage in the midst of it. Because that's what you may have to do when we go to Laramie. Coach has an aggressive game plan, as he does every week, and that's premised upon our ability to cover every week, every quarter throughout the whole game. So you'll feel like your lungs are on fire. Drink more water, breathe, practice deep yoga breathing tonight and tomorrow night, and we'll be fine.
There's Sharrieff Shah. Now here's the head coach, Kyle Whittingham.
One final tune-up before the conference opener. What are you looking for from your defense in particular?
Well, same things we're looking for every week. To play tough against the run, get after the quarterback, tackle efficiently, take the ball away, get the offense set up in short field situations, and be physical. That's our mantra week in and week out.
How's your health of the team right now going into this game?
I'd say pretty good. Going into game 3, I think we got some guys that were missing last week. Everyone in the country's got a few guys that are missing here and there. Hopefully we get those guys back. And I would say no complaints at this time, injury-wise.
You said you wanted more explosive plays on offense. Obviously, you mentioned Jackson Benny. Is there other guys that you want to target more to kind of open up that avenue?
Well, you saw us target Tobias Merriweather a little more last week, and that's got to continue. Benny, again, is a part of the equation. J.J. Buchanan was really probably a lot of guys would not have played last week with how he was feeling. But he's another guy that can really go get that contested ball up the field. So we did improve our explosive plays over the previous game, but we need to take another step forward this week in that regard.
Kyle, when you have guys like Smith and Jackson and Lander going both ways during a game, how do you kind of prepare for that, replicate that in practice? Do you kind of simulate like the snaps that are going to be divided? Or?
We do. We try to get the balance in practice as close as we can to what we predict the balance in the game is going to be. We have a good idea going in every game what the ratio is going to be, offensive snaps to defensive snaps, and we try to mimic that in practice. We also have to divide the meeting time up as well, and so it's a balancing act. But through the first 2 games, I think it's been really good, and we'll continue down that road. We keep learning every week how to handle it, and they've definitely been a shot in the arm for the offense.
All right, there's Kyle Whittingham. There's a little peek at what the Utes had to say yesterday. When we come back, we will talk BYU football. The head coach, Kalani Sitake, joining us right here. DJ and PK, stay with us. DJ, PK, and we're joined now by BYU football head coach Kalani Sitake. Kalani, good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. How are you doing?
We are doing well. How are you?
Doing great. Got the bye week, and got to get ourselves ready for an East Coast trip next week. So, what better time to have a bye than week 3?
The road is a little different, especially with a young quarterback. What are you doing to prepare him for that, since it'll be different, not having that crowd roaring behind him that he had the first couple weeks?
Yeah, I think the extra time will be good for us. Just getting a jump start on East Carolina, and then I think he's gonna be fine. I'm not really worried about. I mean, he's calm under pressure, so I think it'd be unique and different. But in some ways, it might be a little bit of relief. We've had 2 sellout crowds that have been really, really loud, and that could get you a little nervous. This one, we'll probably have support there still, but I think having that extra time and understanding and knowing your opponent will be helpful for it.
Listening to A-Rod talk, he's basically saying the other night there, you go into halftime, you got the game under control. You only scored 14 points. That was kind of weird. But you knew with your great defense, not good, but great, and let's face it, Stanford's offense wasn't very good, that it got to the point where, okay, you need to be safe because the objective always is to win the game, right? And so that's exactly what happened. But they also know, and you guys also know, that there's going to come a time where the offense is going to need to go down the field and get in field position to kick a field goal of a game winner maybe, or a touchdown. So right now, in Bachmeier's stage of development, how do you balance trying to win the game but also not just dummy down everything for him so he gains that experience? Because when you get into conference play, everybody knows there's going to be some nail biters. It's just the way it is, and he's got to be ready for that. So I'm wondering how you balance all that.
Well, I think he's actually really mature and understands the entire game. We talk about complementary football between all three phases, and so understanding that his making good decisions. I've been really happy with all the decisions that he's making, and maybe it's conservative at times, but I think the best prep for him is going against our defense as much as possible. So we're going to have opportunities to go against. I mean, so far that defense is the best thing for him to prep him for those moments that you mentioned, and we'll get some opportunities to do that today and tomorrow and on Thursday. And I think because it's the best look is going against the ones, and that'll get him ready more than anything. But you're right. When we get to that point, when we have those opportunities, he's going to have to step up and do it. And I think he'll be ready. I mean, you can see it all in the works. And I think what we need to do as a team is make sure that we can help him out, and everybody does their part. A lot of pressure goes on the quarterback, but we can relieve him of all the stress when we can lean on a talented and veteran O-line and also tight end group and also receiver group and also running back group. So I think everybody just does their 1/11th, and we should be fine, including the quarterback.
You mentioned the receiver group. JoJo posted a photo post-surgery in the hospital on social media. You've had a few injuries there. How deep are you at receiver? How are you looking to adjust as different guys go down pretty early in the season?
Yeah, I mean, that was unfortunate what happened to JoJo, but we're hoping to get him back sometime during the season. Obviously not for this next game, but this is an opportunity for guys like Cody Hagan to step up, and guys like Tiger Bachmeier and Tay Nakua. Reggie Frischnick is going to have an opportunity too. So that, along with Chase Roberts and Parker Kingston, it's going to be good. And we've seen some really good things from our tight end group too. Carson Ryan starting to catch some balls. And it's all coming together. But when one goes down, as unfortunate as it is in football, it's a violent sport and injuries do happen. It gives an opportunity for the next guys. And so I'm hoping, we have depth in all our positions, and you don't want to always rely on it, but it's good to have that depth just in case things like this happen. So hoping to get JoJo back as soon as we can. And but until that happens, I think the other guys are going to have to step up.
This defense has become a defensive juggernaut. I mean, you got studs all over the place. And you look back to before Jay Hill got there, obviously that last year before he was there was very difficult. You make the change, you bring in Jay Hill, and here you are in his third year, and it looks like, wow, this defense can compete with just about anybody's defense that BYU has thrown out there in the past. I'm wondering, how did it get to this point to be this good? Obviously, Jay Hill deserves a lot of credit, but it's got to be more than that, too. I mean, the coach can only get so much credit here.
Yeah, Jay, first of all, Jay's been outstanding, and you guys know that he and I we've been great friends and been together for a lot of our career, especially in our younger years, and to have him back here has been a huge asset for me, because not only is he a great defensive mind, but he also has a background in special teams. He also has a background of being a head coach with being at Weaver for so long. So to have him is a huge resource for me to lean on. And then you combine that with the guys that are in that defensive staff, and you look at guys like General Guilford that's been around, working with our corners and our pass game. And then you have that with Sione Poha that's handling the D-line, with Kelly Popinga on the outside edge at the ends. And then you have Justin Etta doing the linebackers. That's a really good, solid group. And you combine that with our analysts that are involved with Chad Kaha'a and Gary Anderson. There's a lot of great things that are happening there. And it's all stuff that I'm very familiar with and that I do know and that I know I can trust. And so, I can do a lot of other things, focus on a lot of other things with special teams and offense, and it's going really, really well. And I'm happy with how they're going, how they're playing, and how they're performing. But if you ask Jay, he's going to tell you there's a lot more room for improvement. So we're going to work on that and take advantage of this week, this extra time that we have, to get our guys even better than what we've seen. And that's in all three phases. But I'm really pleased with what's happening on the defensive side.
The Big 12 has a lot of quarterbacks who look really good. Ton of hype for them in the preseason. Some of these guys already putting up huge stats, winning big games. And East Carolina might be good preparation for that. Looking at their stats, they don't have anybody averaging 10 carries a game. They don't have anybody averaging 30 yards a game on the ground. But their quarterback looks like he's going to throw it 40 times for 300 yards week in and week out. So the emphasis this week, I assume, with the bye week to get ready for a game 2 weeks away, the emphasis really changes here. Are they really what they appear to statistically through 2 games? They're just flinging it all over the place.
Yeah, and if you even go back to last year when the quarterback took over, they actually went on a win streak, and then they beat NC State in a bowl game last year. So, and then this year they took NC State to the very end in game 1. So they're a really talented team, well coached, and we have to go there to play. And so I think it's a different. We went there back in 2017. And this is a different visit. I think our budget's a little bit better, so we'll be able to travel differently than we did back then. So we're taking advantage of all the things that we have available to us. But yeah, we definitely have a lot of respect for them and know that this is going to be. I mean, knowing how difficult this season is going to be and this conference is going to be, this has definitely got all our attention. I think the bye is perfect for us in terms of getting our team ready for that move to go on the road and then get into Big 12 play. So this would be a great test for us.
For years, even back to when you were playing, it seemed like the recipe for defensive backs was junior college kids. And now you don't go that route nearly or hardly at all. You go to the point of bringing in these kids as freshmen and then training them up and be in the system for a year or two and then get out on the field and do well. How has that changed in recruiting? Because it seems like the net for BYU's recruiting is a lot wider, particularly at the defensive backfield, but maybe across the field, across all the positions on the team, has been wider than it has been in the past.
I think the biggest key for us is having Gennaro Guilford as our corners coach and our pass game coordinator. Looking at the players that he's a former player, played here, so he understands the culture. He understands what it was like when we were teammates back when Lavelle was our coach, and so he knows exactly what I'm trying to establish. He's been here the entire time that I've been here, and then getting the right amount of corners that you can develop here, and then we sprinkled them with a couple transfers that we brought in. But you're right. I think the key is having them in our system, develop them, allow them to learn the defense. I mean, you see the difference that it's made for a lot of these players that have been in the system now for the third year under Jay's system, and they're starting to understand a lot more. But having the continuity and the stability that having of Gennaro Guilford has been huge for our program. I think it's one of those things that a lot of people don't talk about enough, but it's something that I definitely, for me, is I see the huge benefit for us. And that you combine that with Jay Hill, who actually coaches the safeties, and you look at the talent that's there, and then he's establishing the same type of culture there, and that even extends to the front. But we've always been able to have a front seven and be able to establish that. That combined now with what we're doing in the defensive backfield has been really special, and I think Coach Guilford has the biggest part of in making that happen. And I'm really thankful that I get to have him with me for 10 years now.
Do you feel like you've really adjusted to the transfer portal? I mean, it's still relatively new, but it seems like you're doing pretty well in that. And it seems like the guys who come in as transfers have a different mindset than when you're recruiting high school kids, and maybe that plays in your favor a little bit too.
Yeah, I think when we first went into the Big 12, we wanted some depth and needed some depth, so we probably went heavy in the portal that year than any other year. And then since then, we've kind of been we've tapering off a little bit and trying to get guys that fit the system rather than back then we were trying to get talent. We got a lot of young guys in the portal. Right now we're trying to find the pieces that actually fit us more than anything on the field and off the field. We did a little bit of that back, when we first went to the Big 12, but I feel good, and I feel like we're in a really good rhythm right now with the amount of players that we're signing out of high school that are going on missions and those that are coming straight here, and then sprinkling them in with some of the needed transfer portal guys that actually fit the system and the program. And it's really more, do they fit culturally, and can they be a leader for us in the system? And I think that's been probably a good method for us and a good process for us to keep following.
Your staff has been together now for a while, and I think that's got to help you, kind of like back in the days of Lavelle Edwards. The staff didn't have a whole lot of changeover. I know when Bronco took the job in Virginia, that a lot of the staff went, and guys told me they were getting their salaries doubled to go back there. I'm wondering how competitive the salaries are now that helps you, not just exclusively, but helps you allow to retain the staff.
Yeah, it definitely helps. And when you start doing good things as a program, you're always going to have people trying to take your best part of your program, and that's your players and staff. So retention is key, and I have to do a great job as a head coach of allowing them to realize that we can do a lot of what everybody else is offering them, and probably maybe focus on the things that compensate them more than even just a salary. I have to do my job as a leader to empower them, to give them an opportunity to thrive and to grow, even in their own roles. And then as they do, I just allow them to fly with it. And you look at it, it's like when Jay first got here, it took some time to establish the culture for the defense, even though there's a team culture. It took some time to establish it for him as the leader and for everybody else to be in place, and it's starting to really take shape. And we're going in his third year now, and I think if everybody were to judge us on the first year, there were some growing pains there, and so you don't want to keep doing that over and over and over again. I think the key is for us to keep this foundation, keep the stability, and I need to do my job as a head coach and make sure that my players are happy, but also more importantly that my coaches are happy too.
You've taken on some administrative duties this year, Kalani, and I'm curious how that works out, especially in season. What does that look like for you scheduling? What kind of things do you have to do when you've got not this week, but most weeks you got a game?
Yeah, I think the key, when we first were given when the first opportunity for me to be the senior associate athletic director, I mean, I was like, what does that mean? You know what I mean? And what is it? How does that take me away from football? And the key is football is number one. That's my job is entirely about football. It's probably more on the off season than anything else. And so I've had some time to work in that role. But once we get to football season, I got to focus on football first and worry about everything here. And then in the meantime, there's looking at the scope of things with NIL and with rev share and everything that's involved with the transfer portal windows and all those new rules that are coming in there. That's what I was doing anyways, taking all the outside stuff and then applying to our program. It now just extends a little bit more to the entire athletic department, which, I mean, we follow what football does, and it should be an easy adjustment for the other sports too. But more than anything, I mean, we have amazing administrators that do a great job here, and they can help me out in knowing that this is football season. But to answer your question, football is what I would love to do. As much as I appreciate the other roles, that's more focused on the off season right now. I'm focused on our team and our program and getting everybody ready for the next game.
How are you handling all that, too? You got a young son at home, I think, and you still got a younger family, a daughter. I've just been informed it's a daughter, but I still think you got younger kids at home still. And it seems like the demands on your time are just outrageous.
Well, I mean, you're like me, PK. We're surrounded by wonderful people. I am surrounded by amazing people at work, and I have amazing people at home. So my wife, Kimberly, handles all the really difficult things, and it makes my life a lot easier. And then I have amazing children that have great mentors, and it's a positive parts about being at home is that they have a great support system with my siblings being close by, my father and my parents being close by, and their extended family. So, it's been a lot of fun, but I wish I could take credit for it on both sides. But I'm surrounded by amazing people at work, and I'm surrounded by amazing people at home. And man, it's a huge blessing for me.
Yeah, I missed talking to your wife after the interviews in the South End Zone at your prior job. That was always a weekly appearance that I looked forward to when I came out. She was always there and always bubbly, and boy, those were good times. And I guess we move on, huh?
We're older now, but even we still appreciate. The thing is, you always made her feel comfortable, and she really appreciates your sense of humor. So I think a lot of people get that, and I do too. But I think you just need to come around more and come hang out with us more after games. And it'll be, it's only a little bit after midnight. Come on down, man. Come to Provo, have fun with it.
I got one more little. Maybe an attempt at humor. I got good news and bad news. Next month, you're going to celebrate your 50th birthday, but you got to spend it in the worst spot of all, Tucson, Arizona. Yuck.
Spoken like a true Sun Devil, my man. Hey, listen, when you get to this age, you guys know, I forget about my birthday all the time, so it's not really a big deal. I am getting old, though, but, man, like I said, as long as I have good company around me, good friends, and you guys are part of that whole group, man. It's been an amazing ride, and so I'm looking forward to this year, even though I'm turning 50.
You probably noticed some of the better Big 12 matchups have just sent one to a 10 a.m. window. You mentioned hanging out at midnight. Would you embrace 10 a.m. games at LaVell Edwards Stadium? Because I think if you keep winning, it's just a matter of time before you get one.
We had a 10 a.m. A couple of years ago when we played Oklahoma here. I mean, you guys remember that game?
Yeah.
That it was a little different, but I mean, once you get into the pregame stuff, it wasn't really that big of a deal. And unfortunately, we lost that game. It was a close game, but it was. I think you just have to get used to all the different times. But being out west, I think most of our kickoffs are going to be in the evening. And the PK was talking. I don't think we played as many evening games, even when I was at Utah, as we do now, being out here in the West and being in the Big 12. So I think most of the time we're going to be slotted in the evening, late afternoon, the evening games. But once you get one of those other kickoffs like a 10 a.m., you should just embrace it and have fun with it. It'll be cool.
Kalani, we appreciate the time. Enjoy the bye week and having just a little bit more time to work with. And we will see you down the road at midnight at LaVell Edwards Stadium.
You guys are awesome. Appreciate it, guys. Yep, right. Midnight. That's the time to do it in BYU. Appreciate it, guys.
There's Kalani Sitake. A reminder to join JJ and Alex at the Utah RV Super Show Thursday, September 11th from 3 to 6 at the Mountain America Expo Center. Unplug from distractions and plug into family at the Utah RV Super Show. DJ PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. We're joined now by Shehan, Jeyarajah, CBS Sports National College Football writer. Shehan, welcome back to the show.
And thanks so much for having me.
We have a running debate here about, I think the Big 12 has been labeled the fourth, fairly or unfairly, it's been labeled the fourth best conference. And I think it's reflected in the polls. ASU gets beat, they drop all the way out. Michigan gets beat, they still get the benefit of the doubt. And Michigan's got a better brand name. It's about the individual school. It's not just about the whole league, and I get that. But when you rank the teams, do you see the college football nationally and see where the Big 12 fits the same way the pollsters do?
Well, I think that it's a little interesting when you compare the Big 12 to the ACC, because the ACC has a couple of brands that get that credibility, right? Clemson gets that credibility. Obviously, I think Florida State, after beating Bama, gets that. Miami gets that. But that's it, right? Like after those schools, the other ACC schools, frankly, aren't even I think that Big 12 schools get more credibility than the other 14 ACC schools. SMU obviously started, but they were in the playoff last year, but they fell all the way out after losing a really, really tight game in double overtime to Baylor. So I think that it's really just that there are like three brands essentially that have sort of this implicit credibility among voters that others do not have. But I mean, the thing is too, right? Like, I mean, you do see, Iowa State jump up. You do see Utah jump up. And so I think that certainly Big 12 schools don't receive enough credibility and enough benefit of the doubt. I mean, I think about, like obviously it hasn't been, good opponents as yet, but like BYU's destroyed people so far, right? I mean, they're holding teams to 0.6 yards per carry to this point, and they haven't really gotten much of a sniff. I think that TCU should have been in a little bit sooner. Actually, it's funny. We put out our CBS 136 rankings where all of our experts come together and rank the teams. I feel like actually we end up doing a better job because I think that we really do give a lot more credence to some of these teams. But, I think that there is a little bit of I guess lack of benefit of the doubt the Big 12 teams are given, but I do think that at least, unlike maybe some of those bottom 13 ACC teams, they have a bit more ability to climb their way up.
Speaking of their ability to climb their way up, man, Oklahoma State, are we going to see a repeat of what we saw last year?
I mean, that was just horrendous what happened against Oregon. That's one of the most dominant losses that I've ever seen. And by the way, their last FBS game last year was a 52-0 loss to Colorado. But I think that this one was even worse for a couple of reasons. I mean, one, it was, obviously national TV, a lot of eyes on it. But, I was looking for one thing to take away from that game because you're heading into a season, right? You've got 10 games left. They didn't do a single thing that felt like it was positive in any way. They didn't have a drive that was positive. They had, one pass on a broken Oregon defensive play that was positive to set up the field goal. Other than that, I mean, they might as well have not even shown up. They looked – I don't even want to say they looked like an FCS team because they looked worse than that. They looked like one of the worst teams that I've ever seen playing in that game. I just don't know where you go from here. Obviously, they won't play another team of Oregon's quality and caliber heading forward. But, I just don't know what you hang your hat on. At Oklahoma State, historically, it's been quarterbacks and wide receivers. I don't think that they have either of those things right now, especially – with Haas Haney out, their opening day starter. Their defense looks like it's even worse than it was last year. And, I was talking with a colleague who heard from a source, one of the big warning signs that some people around the industry had about Oklahoma State was when you looked at the pool that they were kind of fishing in for transfers, they were more competing with Group of 5, Group of 6 programs than they were with other power conference teams. They were definitely behind the 8 ball in so many ways. So just a horrendous situation. I don't imagine they're going to finish 0-9 in conference again. But if they do, I mean, I don't know how you bring Mike Gundy back at that point.
Well, as long as we're on the downers for the league, Army scored 10 points in the fourth quarter to rally past K-State 24-21. Mississippi State hit on a big pass play after blowing a 14-point lead to ASU, but they win the game with 30 seconds left. And Kansas has a 21-6 lead early, is trailing going into the fourth quarter, retakes the lead, and then gives up 2 scores and loses to Missouri. Any season-defining results there? Anything you want to say definitively off that? Any one of those 3 you want to nominate as an immediate bounce back? Hey, it was just one game early. This team's going to be really good. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, by far, the biggest warning signs are at Kansas State, just because it's not just one game. It's been all 3 of their games this season. I mean, defensively, they've been a disaster. I have a piece up at CBSSports.com where I kind of get into it, but they have just been totally unable to get off the field. I mean, actually, the crazy thing is last year, for the entire season, they gave up 9 fourth down conversions. This year, through 3 games, they've already given up 10. So, they just cannot get off the field. I don't think that's something that's going to get better. And the other thing, too, is that when you look at their running back specifically, last year they averaged 2.5 yards before contact on running back carries. This year it's down to 1.6. So, this is a team that's just completely underwhelming in the trenches, which is not something that you expect from a Kansas State Chris Kleiman team. I just don't think that that's going to get a whole lot better. For me, I think, you look at that Arizona State game, and it's a disaster. I don't want to overstate that because it really, you cannot go on the road as a team that won the Big 12 last year, that's a top 15 team, and lose to the worst team in the SEC. Like, you just can't do that, especially, by the way, when you've made some headlines with some of the stuff that you've said about Starkville and Mississippi State. So, but you look at the game flow of that game, it's like they go down 17-0 because of some dumb mistakes, because they can't get their quarterback in rhythm. They come all the way back because they're clearly the better and more talented team, and a mental mistake on the last play of the game ultimately costs them the game. So, I don't necessarily think that I'm going to throw in the towel on Arizona State as yet, but you just did a whole lot of damage to yourself with the fact that you went and, again, lost to the worst team in the Southeastern Conference.
On the flip side, has anybody done anything to make you think, okay, they are the team to beat or teams to beat?
Well, I think that Iowa State to this point has been incredibly impressive. They were clearly the better team than Kansas State for the entire Dublin game. The game ended up being close score-wise, but I don't think that it was that close, in terms of actuality. And I actually feel the same way about the Iowa game. Like, this Iowa game should have probably been, a 10 to 14-point victory based on game flow. They let Iowa get back into it because of some mistakes, but they have been playing incredibly well in all phases of the game. Defensively, they were optimistic that some of their issues in run defense last year were because of injuries, and I think that they've pretty much proved that through the first couple weeks of the year. I've also been very impressed with the way that their passing game has fought. Obviously, they lose 2 receivers to the NFL, and they don't have the dynamic guys like they did last year, but they've come up with a lot of interesting pieces, especially at that tight end position that maybe they didn't have last year. So I think that Iowa State has really elevated themselves as being sort of a team to beat in the Big 12 right now. I think that also, it's been one game, so, we want to see how it really plays out. But, what I saw from TCU against North Carolina is what I hope to see from TCU against North Carolina. They, I think, are as talented, maybe the most talented team in the Big 12 to this point. And I think that they have kind of gotten lost in the mix because, they only go from 5 wins to 9 wins last year. But I think that they're a serious contender. And I'll close it out also with Utah. I mean, Utah, of course, I think that UCLA also a pretty bad team. But, they went in there and completely shut them down. I think that with this new offense, Utah definitely looks the part of a true Big 12 contender.
Iowa State's tight ends, granted, I'm suddenly watching way more Iowa State football than I thought I ever would, but Iowa State's tight ends have been really impressive. Burkle's really good. I don't even know if he's the best one. Bramer's made some big-time plays. Do you think they feature them more? Because they beat K-State, and I know it was raining and it was Ireland, so it's kind of weird, but they didn't throw for 200 yards in that game. And I know Iowa's got a good defense, but didn't throw for 200 yards in that game. And I'm thinking with those 2 tight ends, we've seen teams here at Utah and BYU, when they get 2 tight ends that can get into the passing game, in the case of Utah, they've actually had even more than 2 sometimes, it's devastating. And teams just don't match up. So I'm wondering if they emphasize those guys and get a little better passing game. They got a third-year starting quarterback. So they're winning, so I guess I shouldn't, complain too much. But winning while throwing for less than 200 yards, given who they have at tight end and quarterback, seems surprising.
Yeah, I think that we're definitely going to see more out of it, right? I mean, Iowa, like you mentioned, one of the best defenses in the country every single year. And it's just one of those ugly type games every single year between Iowa and Iowa State. And the Kansas State game, I mean, I think that Kansas State's been okay against the pass. It's really been the run where they've struggled. So I think that when they get into Big 12 play, I agree. This is going to be a huge dynamic. And the other thing that I'll mention, too, is that having Bramer and having Burkle as well, that sets such a floor for your offense. But, they actually do have some receivers who could potentially raise their ceiling. I'm thinking of a guy like Chase Sowell coming over from East Carolina. He's supposed to be a big part of the downfield part of this game. I think that he'll continue to get better across the year. Dominic Overby was a player who only had 1 catch last year as a true freshman. Now as a redshirt freshman has come in, been a big-time player. Xavier Townsend coming over from UCF. So I think that they've almost not even scratched the surface of what this passing game can be. So I think that by the time we start getting into October and November, this will be a really formidable passing attack.
You didn't mention BYU when we're talking about teams. Is it just your doubt on Bachmeier, the freshman?
No, not at all. I mean, they've played 2 of the worst teams in the country to this point, one at the Power Conference level, one at, really, Portland State might be the worst team in all of Division One after what they've done the first couple of weeks. So I'm just a little bit in wait-and-see mode on their offense. I was hoping to see a little bit more, certainly, from Bachmeier in that offense in the game against Stanford. The defense is everything that was promised and expected. That linebacker combo of Jack Kelly and Isaiah Glasker, it is just absolutely unbelievable. But, the offense, I think, especially the passing game, they were very conservative. I don't know if they just didn't want to try to put him in bad spots, but this is also the moments where you kind of hope to see the offense grow just a little bit. So I just didn't see quite enough from there in that first FBS start against Stanford to clearly put them back in the conversation. But they certainly proved that they have at least the defense to very much get back into that conversation if Bear can continue to come along.
As much as Stanford is terrible, UCLA now 0-2. Could they actually be working on last place in the Big Ten in a 2-10 season? I've never seen a 2-win team at UCLA in my lifetime, but, man, it's been an awful 2 weeks for these guys.
Yeah, it has been really, really bad. Obviously going to have some competition from, Northwestern looks really bad. Purdue, obviously with the first-year coach. But, I think that UCLA has played down to just about all of them. And when you look at some of the talent that they have on both sides, it's really kind of inexplicable. Obviously Nico's going to get a lot of the attention. And I frankly thought that Nico was fine in the UNLV game. But the defense is just horrendous, just absolutely horrible. They haven't run the ball well enough despite bringing in a couple of talented running backs and offensive linemen. This is just a poorly coached, poorly prepared, poorly built team to this point. And, I think that Deshaun Foster was put into a really bad spot. He was hired in February after Chip Kelly left to become offensive coordinator at Ohio State. But, I don't think he's taking advantage of the opportunity either. I think that this is as bad about a start to the Big Ten slate as you could have had for UCLA. And, again, when you look at the number of bad teams in that conference, to be the absolute worst, like you said, it's almost never happened at UCLA.
What do you think of Saban kind of whining about the SEC doesn't have the money when they've been paying guys forever and ever, and now with the NIL, the Big Ten has a distinct advantage?
Yeah, it's interesting, right? I think historically in the SEC, that proximity obviously has been a huge factor. But with the money being what it is now, getting it, it's one thing to get a couple $1,000s. It's another to be signing essentially pro contracts. You don't see NFL players complaining that they have to move to Green Bay or whatever, because ultimately it's a business. And I think that that's the biggest thing that's changed. And, like you said, SEC teams have been in many ways ahead of the curve. And this was a conversation I was having with colleagues last year. It's if the Michigan money cannon opens up, right? How does that change things? If Ohio State is really throwing their money around, if Wisconsin, there's so many Big Ten schools that have multiple billionaires that are in major metros with access to a lot of money. And I don't think enough people realize, Alabama is only has one billionaire in the entire state, and he's an Auburn fan. So, this is just this is, I think, kind of the state of things. And, I think that it's a little rich, like you said, to kind of try to cry poor about it, when really, I think that when you look at these Big Ten and Northern schools, and even if you want to include some of the Big 12 schools that are getting into the mix, like Texas Tech and BYU, ultimately, this is creating a little bit more of an even playing surface than there's ever been. And frankly, the SEC isn't used to there being a truly even playing surface, at least in the last 20 years.
You mentioned Texas Tech and all that money. 62-14 over Kent State, 67-7 over Arkansas Pine Bluff. Do we know anything for real? Obviously they got the Utes coming up, 10 a.m. game, Big Fox in 2 weeks. But it feels like Oregon State, this going from the Pac-12 to the Pac-2 and the transfer portal has just crushed the Oregon State program. So I don't know that I'm going to get much of a read on Texas Tech. I don't know how much you feel like you know. They spent a lot of money and they're winning big, but given the level of competition, I don't know what I know about them.
Yeah, we know absolutely nothing about them to this point. Now, I will say, I don't think that we could learn anything positive from games like this. We certainly could learn something negative about them, and we haven't done that because they've 100% jumped on their throats, put teams away, been up 28-0 at the end of first quarters. That's I think, exactly what you hope for them to do. But, also demolishing MAC teams, and by the way, the worst teams in the country, it's just not obviously going to prove that you belong in that discussion. I obviously mentioned my Big 12 contenders right now. I did not include Texas Tech in that just because I don't think that they've had an opportunity to prove that they belong there. And like you said, it starts with a road trip to Utah on Big Noon kickoff. That's going to, I think, be a huge game. One of the biggest games in Texas Tech recent program history, I would argue, because Utah has kind of proven themselves right now as the class of the Big 12 so far with the wins that they've had. So I don't think that we know anything as yet. I don't think we're going to learn anything against Oregon State, but they've done everything that they've needed to do to this point to at least keep themselves alive.
Ryan Staub wins the job at Colorado as the third-string quarterback. I don't know anything about Ryan Staub other than they gave him 2 series and he cashed in big time. Do you know much about Ryan Staub?
Yeah, well, what's interesting is that he actually came to campus as part of Carl Durrell's recruiting class. So, when Deion Sanders comes in and says, I'm bringing my own luggage and it's Gucci or it's Louis, sorry. He was one of those guys in the room who was told, you're not going to get considered that way. But, he really stuck things out. He stayed. He won the backup quarterback job behind Shador the last 2 years. And he's just stuck around and done things right. And, of course, they recruited over him. They brought in a transfer in Caden Salter and a 5-star freshman in Julian Lewis. And he just stuck around. And now that his moment has come, he's stepped up. Now, I think that what's really interesting is that I do feel like there's an aspect of this of, I think that Deion Sanders has a very NFL mindset in the sense of player acquisition of let's try to get better players to fill our holes. Well, I think Ryan Staub is much more the story of college football, which is, man, you just got to take the kids that you have and make them better. And he's been in this system now for 3 years. He's obviously he was under Pat Shurmur last year, their offensive coordinator, and he's proven himself in a big way. So he comes off the bench in a spot where Colorado, by the way, looks pretty bad against a group of 5 opponent and delivers big performance. So I think it's a huge testament to him that he stuck around and proved himself. And I would not be surprised if this is just their guy moving forward.
Shehan, we appreciate it as always. Thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you again next week.
Thank you so much for having me.
There's Shehan Jeyarajah from CBS, National College Football writer. A reminder, join Hans and Scotty G at Edge Power Sports and Draper Thursday from noon to 3. Get ready for their Suzuki demo event on Friday and Saturday and come in for a test drive. Edge Power Sports, where adventure begins and the thrill never ends. What is trending? The headlines coming up next.
It's time to get your morning started with the news you need to know.
News update. News update.
This is what's trending with DJ and PK. Hashtag college football.
I don't think it's a good idea at all. In the conversations that we had with the Big Ten coaches, I think the majority of them agree. I just don't quite understand how for teams that are playing in the playoffs are expected to, make the decisions and sign their upcoming players while they're still getting ready to play for games.
Ryan Day on the new transfer portal window. College football down to one transfer portal window in January, and he doesn't like it.
Oh, poor Ryan. He doesn't like it.
Letting people go. Telling people to go, having people announce they're going.
How's he going to juggle it with a staff of 200 people? Oh, so much work he's going to have to do. It's so unfair to Ohio State. I don't even know how they win a game. It's transfer portal. Everybody is a free agent every year. What do you need a time frame for? Coaches can come and go whenever they want. Why are we putting a specific time frame on the players?
Power and control, baby.
Well, then, if every player should put his name in, because he can go anytime he wants. So just everyone put your name in.
Then you keep your options open.
Yeah, and you can be like Whittingham. You put your name in, you're gone. Oh, wait a second. You can help us?
No, not anymore.
So he backed off that.
He did.
Tough guy. Yeah, that sounded good. But then
it sounded good, but it wasn't best for building the winning team.
Right.
So he decided, let's build winning teams instead of worrying about that.
So everyone should be a free agent every year. Because essentially they are. Just put your name in. What's the difference? And then then you can evaluate. If they want to do a thing by June 1st, then whatever team you're on, that's the team you got to stay on. But until they have restrictions on coaches, I want no restrictions on players. And because I don't care that, it's so tough for roster building. Okay, I'm 17 and I choose to go to school ABC, and then in April or May, one of the coaches who recruited me and I had a great close relationship gets a better offer. He takes off. Happens frequently.
Coaches aren't going to agree on limitations on them because they're saying, well, there's no limitations on the school. They can fire us whenever. Look at the timing of Troy Taylor's.
Get paid.
Troy Taylor's dismissal. Yeah, and they do get as long as it's not for cause. You're right.
And there's usually some kind of settlement there. If you cheated, we understand that. So I don't want to hear any of this. This is the system you created. You don't like it, go to the NFL. Go to high school then. Yeah, right.
They're not doing that. Riding buses. Stop it. Federal judge in California has heard arguments in the Mountain West Conference motion to dismiss a lawsuit filed by the Pac-12 over $55 million in poaching fees. But the judge was not expected to make a ruling immediately. Pac-12 and some of its schools have filed legal actions claiming the poaching clause the league agreed to and signed a scheduling agreement is invalid. So, Utah State in the middle of that. Will they have to write a check or not?
Is this going to be when the House settlement in like 14 years, when the House settlement is done, when they reach the House settlement, oh my gosh.
I do wonder how long this is going to take, yes, to your point.
Because I don't care.
A Big 12 officiating crew has been reprimanded following a rules violation of Missouri's win over Kansas last Saturday, and they were removed from their scheduled assignment for this Friday. Botched a rule on a punt. You're not reffing. We are holding you accountable.
I've seen that.
Yeah. Think that'll make referees better? Knowing they can be suspended.
I don't think they try to screw up.
Yeah, I know.
But there's consequences, so it's the way the world works.
DJ and PK.
Hashtag NFL.
We all interested in that game and how Micah played. Not one thing unexpected for me as to how he played. And he's gotten on a good team up there in Green Bay. We're going to get to have him right here. And we'll get a first-hand look at the entire team, not just Micah. From what I saw of him, I thought he was able to get in there and play without having any influence from his back. And I say that with a straight face, I do. And having said that, wish him well.
Jerry Jones and Micah Parsons play for Green Bay. Packers, meanwhile, signed wide receiver Christian Watson, 1 year, $13 million, so he won't be a free agent next year. He was in the final year of his rookie deal this season.
I love it when sports people say, we gone. I just love it. That gets me fired. We gone. Oh, man, it's time to play ball. Hat on hat. We gone. I love that phrase. We gone.
NFL announced that the Eagles defensive tackle Jalen Carter will not miss any additional games for spitting on Cowboy quarterback Dak Prescott. He was ejected before playing it down in the game, and the league said they considered that a one-game suspension, while he will also pay a fine of 1 game check. So if your ejection comes early enough, that's a suspension.
Well, a game before the game, essentially.
Yeah. 49ers placed tight end George Kittle on injured reserve, meaning he will miss at least 4 games as he deals with the hamstring injury that he suffered Sunday in the opener. Team also let kicker Jake Moody, a former third-round draft pick, go, and they signed Eddie Pinheiro to be their new kicker. Third-round pick. Out the door, but missed too many. So, back to your point. There are consequences. DJ and PK.
Hashtag NBA.
Toronto Star columnist Bruce Arthur reported that Kawhi Leonard's uncle and advisor, Dennis Robertson, asked the Toronto Raptors during contract negotiations in 2019 for ownership stakes in outside companies or teams like the Toronto Maple Leafs and so-called no-show endorsement deals, which the Clippers have been accused of giving Leonard via an endorsement with former team sponsor aspiration.
I mean, the guy went to San Diego State. I mean, he's been doing this for years.
Had his hand out. Let's go. I'm worth more. What do you think is going to be done to the Clippers ultimately?
I think they'll be forced to relocate to Europe.
I doubt that.
They'll take away draft picks.
Take away a draft pick and find them, call it good.
What else can you do? Make them run around the block.
The Bulls agreed to a 4-year, $100 million contract extension with Josh Giddey. The deal's fully guaranteed, has no team or player options built into it. He averaged 14 points, 8 boards, 7 assists last year. So 4 years and $100 million for him. LeBron James on a tour of China told reporters basketball is not only a sport, but a bridge that connects us. A story by the AP yesterday incorrectly reported that James wrote an op-ed for Chinese state media setting off a round of criticism for the Lakers star. The story was sourced from talks James had at multiple stops on the tour and compiled from those group interviews. So he didn't write it.
No kidding.
DJ and PK.
Hashtag Major League Baseball.
The 2-2 line drive to the gap in left center field. That's going to get all the way to the fence. 2 more runs in. Kerry Carpenter rounding second. He's heading to third, and he will make it without a throw. 2-run triple. The first 9 men have reached here in the 7th inning.
Liberatore from the chest. Looks at second, the pitch. Swung on. That is crushed. It's going to go. How far? It's just short of the upper deck. Goodbye, Randy Arozarena. A 3-run blast.
3 balls and 1 strike to Schwarber, the pitch. Swung on, hit deep, center field. Siri just watching as that ball is gone. It's number 50 for Kyle Schwarber.
Kyle Schwarber's the first National League player to reach 50 home runs. He and Shohei Ohtani right there, neck and neck. Schwarber with just a little bit of a lead. And the Phillies beat the Mets 9-3. They are coasting to the National League Eastern Division title, 9 games clear of the Mets. The Mets trying to hold off the Reds, and now the Giants, as the Giants come storming into the wild card race. They're 2 games back of the Mets right now. Reds are 3 back. Reds did pick up a win yesterday, so they're trying to stay in the hunt there. Dodgers beat the Rockies 7-2. Reds beat the Padres 4-2. So the Reds stay in the wild card race. Padres are 2 back of the Dodgers now. And you heard the Yankees getting blown out in the 7th inning. They gave up 9 runs, lose to the Tigers 12-2, and both the Red Sox and the Toronto Blue Jays win in the East. So bad news for the Yankees there. These beat Tacoma 6-1 in the series opener. Game 2 tonight. It's the last 5 home games of the year out at the ballpark.
I went out to the ballpark last night.
Oh, yeah?
Have you been there?
No, I have not. How was it?
Awesome.
Yeah. And you saw a W. So there's that.
Yeah, that's
good.
Nice.
Mountain views. New mountain views. Good mountain views.
They don't really have the mountain views because they got the big scoreboard there.
Yeah.
But they've got a big putting green for kids, like a miniature golf thing. Had a mariachi band out there past center field, and they've got 2 Mexican teams coming in. I think October 10th and 11th and 12th, somewhere around there. So yeah, it was a good time. Nice crowd. You should get out.
Bees are back at it tonight. Tony Park's on the call, 7 o'clock right here on The Zone. What is Trending is brought to you by Shamrock Plumbing. There's no job too big or too small. Get the personal touch with Shamrock Plumbing. Coming up, 9 o'clock, Alex Taylor, Wyoming Cowboys beat writer for the Laramie Boomerang and the Wyoming Tribune Eagle. Also, later in the show, we've got tickets to see Breaking Benjamin in 3 days. Grace with Return to Dust, Saturday, September 27th at the Utah First Credit Union Amphitheater. On a Win Tickets Wednesday, we'll give those away in the 8 o'clock hour. DJ and PK, it is time now for the question of the day, hot takes or toast, and we will get to that next right here on The Zone.
week for the Aggies, and the KSL Sports Zone is getting you ready for kickoff. Bronco Mendenhall and the Aggies return home to Logan to open up Mountain West Conference play with a showdown against Air Force. Listen all week long for the best coverage of Aggie football. Then catch the play-by-play action beginning with the Aggie pregame show game day at 6:30 on 1280 The Zone. Your exclusive home for Aggie football is live on air, online, and on the KSL Sports app. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Nominate the youth sports volunteer that you know for the Hercules Hero of the Week. Submit your nomination at KSLSports.com/contest. Listen every Thursday afternoon to Jay, and Alex for the winner. Help us celebrate the efforts of those volunteers making an impact with the Hercules Hero of the Week. And it's sponsored by Hercules First Federal Credit Union and Beehive Meals.
DJ and PK, bring us your hot takes. Hot takes or toast. An AP voter moved Florida up 2 spots on her ballot after losing to South Florida. WTF.
What the fetch?
How are you paying any attention?
Uh-oh.
Even a little bit.
Uh-oh.
Do you know what you said or what you wrote or what you turned in a week ago? Apparently not. Oops. I don't want to go into my process because it's not very good.
Well, let's listen to her very own words rather than your beautiful voice.
As far as what my votes are and what my process is, I wake up early in the morning after covering a game late in the night before. Don't want to go too much into my progress or process or logic, but I will say I appreciate everybody's interaction on social media and all of your feedback. There's tons of people that vote on the AP poll, and it's not a perfect system, but at the end of the day, no matter who you pick, it does even out because there's so many people who vote. And like I said, it's really fun for discussion. It doesn't, probably matter in the end, but I'm glad that people are having a really good time with it.
There is Haley Sawyer.
She sounds like she's creating education better. She might cut off aid to the Iraq.
The Gators were 16 in her Week 2 ballot, and Florida's up to 14 in her Week 3 ballot.
Now, she works for the Southern California News Group, which
sounds familiar.
Combination. I never worked for that particular group. That's basically, we all had individual owners back in my day, back in the 40s.
And now one owner's gone out and bought 11 of the local/regional papers.
Basically everything but the Los Angeles Times.
They got it all now.
The Press Telegram, my old paper, The Breeze, the Orange County Register, the Daily News. And so they're unified. They have local reporters that cover the individual areas because that's a wide span of geography.
Whittier to San Pedro is quite a ways.
And it goes all the way from she's based out of the Valley, but it's for everyone. And so I know several people who work there. And I was in communication with them last night. And at first they were trying to protect a coworker, but I kept battering them. I eventually broke them.
And they finally were like, yeah, that's a bad look.
Yeah. It's and then she makes it worse by sort of backhandedly defending it instead of, I screwed up. And it won't happen again. I'm sorry. End of interview. Now, we won't have Jim Rome spending hours on it today and creating education better. And what was the one? There was one Miss America gal who was just up there bumbling away. And we need to get him maps. That was a long time ago. Maps was the key so we can figure out who's where. And he had a field day with that. This wasn't quite as bad, but it was a lot of double talk and double speak there for essentially refusing to say, hey, I messed up.
I blew it. Instead of looking at my ballot from a week ago, I used she didn't want to go into the process, but she probably used the poll results, and so, oops.
Yeah, and you're up late at night, and you got to submit it early in the morning. Hey, my father worked 2 jobs for 50 years. Worked late at night cleaning toilets and got up early in the morning and cleaned toilets. So, come on. and you're young. That's the nature of the biz in today's world in that particular field. It used to be you had to pay your dues. Now you literally fresh out of college, you can get major assignments because a lot of the veterans have said, this isn't an industry I want to be a part of. I had one guy at the Watchdog tell me, I don't want to be left turning out the lights.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so you had a lot of qualified people, men and women, the gender is irrelevant, that left the business.
Yeah, I don't want to do this anymore.
Because we're facing layoffs, we're facing cutbacks, and am I next? That becomes a very sensitive and very extremely unfortunate situation. The demise, or at least the hits that industry has taken, is bad. I think it's bad for individual communities. Obviously, it's bad for the individual who needs a job to work and all that. So I think on the flip side of it is you then have youngsters that may not have had the experience given these prime assignments. That's sort of a general overview of what's going on, not necessarily saying specifically to this young lady that was the situation, but, it's out there. And most newspaper staffs, if you can call them, they're basically websites, they're greatly understaffed. You go to a college football game, particularly in Utah, and gosh, it used to be packed in the press row there. Now I can lay down. I can take a nap on 5 chairs and string them together. It used to be, in fact, I was banished. I was a front row guy for many years, but then when I went to electronic, second row, and I have the fans peering over my shoulder as they walk through the press area. But then I got put back on the first row because there's just not enough bodies. The coverage cannot be the same. It's very unfortunate. I mean, I don't take any joy in this
Staffs
whatsoever.
everywhere tend to be smaller.
Yeah, it's just a fact. Yeah, and you can't cover it. The newspapers used to send 5, 6
I was
people.
about to say, you can't send 5 people when you have a staff of 8 or 9.
Right. Yeah, it sucks. Yeah, but I mean, it's a reality of the world. It's not good. I think we all suffer because of it. I think some people may have an axe to grind against this paper or that paper. I get that. I get how that works. But I think overall, having it have this industry take a hit like this, I don't think is good for communities at all. And so that's not to excuse anybody for what they're doing. I think she should just come out and said, "Hey, I'm interested." I remember one time I did it, and Michigan was rolling, and I left him out. I just freaking forgot.
Yeah.
But I think it was basketball, so nobody really pays attention to that. Football, and now football from my day as a newspaper, and so my last day working for a daily newspaper was 2007. From 2007 to now, the amount of growth that college football has had, and attention and publicity and all that stuff, it's just catapulted dozens of times.
I was going to go with mushrooming.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah. I think it's the second most popular sport we have in this country, with obviously the NFL being number 1. Yeah, I think it's that big of a deal. So now something like this, in my day, you weren't, it wasn't published. There was no form
for people to know what your ballot said.
Yeah, so nobody knew that I screwed up. And then I submitted it, and then oh man, and then the next week I corrected it, and there was no big deal. Nobody knew.
Right.
I felt like a fool, and I was embarrassed to the person I sent it to. I wondered if they noticed it. I never heard anything back, but I felt that particular week I forgot. And like this young lady, I was on the road. Mm-hmm. And you have to submit
you're probably a little sleep deprived and distracted doing multiple things.
Yeah, and I think, I'm sitting at an airport. I remember, I believe I was in San Diego. For some reason, it just stands out to me. And had to hustle out of the hotel, that type of thing, and it needed it. And then I have shortly after this, what am I doing this for? I'm getting nothing out of it. I've already established myself. I don't really need any more attention. I don't need to get my name out there anymore. I keep the Wooden Award vote. That's the one thing I've kept through all the years because I felt it was an honor when Paul James retired, and he's a legend in this community, obviously. He recommended to the Wooden people that I get the vote. And I was so honored by that Paul James would think that much of me to recommend me. I mean, it could have been that I got to take out the trash downtown somewhere. If Paul James recommends you, I felt honored by that.
Yeah, I get why you would.
Because of the stature he had and the duration he had been doing what he did.
Credibility he built up over time.
Yeah.
All that.
Yeah, and I still have that today. I still do it every season. They make it so easy for you. They send you a preseason list, then they chop it down to midseason, then they send you the final ballot.
So you're not going to forget somebody?
It's impossible.
They got you covered.
Right, yeah. You've got to be just completely careless if you screw it up, and then you vote 10 to 1, 1 being the lowest, 10 being the highest. And usually by that point, it's pretty obvious who the player of the year is. It didn't take a basketball genius, David Locke, to vote Cooper Flagg.
Good work by you. Bravo.
And then you go down. But I have to admit, even on that, if there's some Western people,
you start looking to see, okay, is this person getting overlooked by everyone back east?
I mean, it really doesn't matter at that point, because whether I put him at 7th
or 4th
8th
or 9th or whatever,
he's probably not winning, because most of the time
there's a
it's
runaway.
So
most of the time
obvious.
there's a runaway winner.
Yeah, maybe you have 2 people that could do it.
That's the thing with Florida right now is it isn't obvious, and so a few points, and teams want, but Florida's going to play a schedule here where they could get demolished and be off of everybody's ballot in 2 or 3 weeks. And they also could win these games, and they'll be number 1 or number 2. Yeah, I mean, Ohio State stays undefeated. I don't know if they pass them. But their next 3 games are top 10 opponents. LSU, Miami, Texas, 3-5-7.
Yeah, I don't see them winning any.
I know. At which point then, okay, you're 1-4, and you're not on anybody's ballot. So all of this is
well, you never know.
Hullabaloo. At 1-4, I think we do know. I think at 1-4 we know. I get your point if it goes back and forth, and people can have different opinions. They could be the team in the SEC that's 7-5, and people want to vote for them. Look at their schedule. Look at all the ranked teams.
South Florida is a burgeoning program.
South Florida is off to a very good start.
Oh, you couldn't get any better.
2-0, baby. Blew out Boise State.
Yeah.
And then the clutch drive aided by the spitting penalty to beat Florida.
Are they ranked? They should be.
Yeah, they are. They're one of the reasons that BYU hasn't been climbing. Somebody falls below them, but somebody jumps over them. Really? South Florida jumped over them this week. Florida State jumped over them the week before.
It's religious bias.
Oh, okay.
Well, how do you explain it? How do you explain Utah being ranked and BYU not? What Utah have did that BYU have not did? Yeah.
Freshman quarterback and another guy who's being hyped by national people as which I guess goes back to your point about the respect they get, as a Heisman candidate. I think they're looking at BYU, the freshman quarterback, and saying, prove it.
Yeah, but you're looking at one versus the other. I'm looking at 25. I'm not looking at BYU versus Utah. I don't pit BYU versus Utah just for radio ratings like you do. You just made it the quarterback over here, Dampier, versus Grizzly Bear Bachmeier. That's not what I'm saying. There's 25 spots. It's not one versus the other. I'm not looking for some cheap click on a story like you do, like you just did right there.
You literally just said what Utah did that BYU have not did. That seemed to pit them against each other in my mind.
That's your call.
Okay.
Now, listen and pay attention. You'll find out there's 25 spots. It doesn't have to be one versus the other. They can both be ranked. Why not? It's a social injustice that BYU's not ranked. I don't see how anybody can argue. It's a joke of all jokes. What are you doing over there, man?
Laughing and coughing. As anyone on TV. Hi. As anyone on camera can see. I was laughing and coughing.
Why? Why is that a combo?
You're funny, and I had something stuck there. Yeah. There you go. Okay, now I'm better.
You're funny, too.
Every once in a while.
These rankings now have taken on a complete and total life of their own. They never matter, but they always matter. It's kind of crazy this way. The rankings in college football, there's not a poll that matters more. Name me a poll that matters more. Because we'll all have the power rankings in MLB, the power rankings in NFL, the power rankings in the NBA.
No, this is the one.
You guys have one in MLS?
Yes, everybody has power rankings.
Yeah.
None of them matter in pro sports because it's what place are you in, and there are tiebreakers written out in the preseason.
I don't know that they matter that much in college, but in terms of attention and discussion that is drawn to it, college football AP poll is the most important.
Yeah, gets more run than anything else by a wide margin.
Yeah. So it's funny in the way that is, and we dissected and we looked at every voter, he or she. Oh, this one had Utah 11th, and the other one didn't even have Utah in its ballot. I mean, I'm just throwing out hypotheticals.
But that is actually
then we look at
that is actually happening this week, and yes, we have on later today. We're having on in part for that reason. Because I was looking at there was a grid where everybody's held accountable in the way they weren't back in 2007, as you told us. And you can see where everybody ranked them. And so you can see ballots. Utes aren't on them. And then there's other ballots where people, and I think it's about a half dozen people, have them 11th or 12th.
And I know that's right up your alley. Me, that's like,
you blew right by
it's eye pollution.
Eye pollution.
It is. It's like looking into the densest smog it's up against the San Gabriels.
Oh, my God.
We haven't had a storm in weeks.
And you're deep into Riverside County, and you can't see a thing.
No, I look at that, and it's like it's too overwhelming. They got color-coded. They got this and that. Mm-hmm. It's just eye pollution. It's too much. And
all I did was look for Utah and BYU. To your point,
don't justify it. You like it. You're okay.
I do like it for the locals.
People are criticizing me, not you. Of course, you love the locals. Nobody loves the locals more than you. We know that.
Looking for a story in a midweek interview, and it worked.
You. At all times, enhance the brand. And I believe it's paid off mighty well, even more than people know, if you get my drift.
No, I don't. Scotty G completely overestimated. He literally apologized to me later. I thought you were lying.
So, I mean, come on. I get it. Man. I only pay attention to Utah and BYU. There could be world chaos around me, but I am focused on the two schools I love the most.
The two sports I cover the most. Suddenly it's love.
Same thing.
Not really.
I cover however I devote my attention. It's the same thing, man. However you allocate your time. I know nothing about anybody, but BYU and Utah, I know everything. Just ask me. Modern.
The
stuff I put up with. And do it so well, too, and humbly.
Just ask you.
Yeah, I just let it roll off my back. So this is a big deal. BYU fans are furious they're not ranked. They hate Tom Sawyer or whatever her name is.
Tom Sawyer.
Where's Huck Finn?
How do we pull Huck Finn into the AP poll?
They don't like Sawyer Brown. I mean,
Lindsay Sawyer.
Sawyer Brown. It's a word association.
Yeah.
Sawyer Robertson all of a sudden.
She did not include BYU, or did she? I don't know. What's her vote?
I don't know. I didn't look.
I thought you only care about BYU and Utah. Fact is, you only care about Utah. That's the bottom line. I think we all know that. Although that's about to change.
There you go. Cracking yourself up left and
right. So what did she vote? BYU. BYU should be ranked.
I can find it here. I don't know what she voted in.
If Utah's ranked, BYU should be ranked.
It'll take me a minute. This may have to give me something to do during the break.
Because you have noise. It's eye pollution, right? It's so much you got to figure out.
Yeah, it's very small print.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
I can't even find her name, let alone her ballot. I don't see her on here. She's got to be here.
They already demoted her?
I see Josh Furlong. We can go through his ballot if you'd like.
Has he got them both?
Josh Furlong. Yes, he's got them both. He's got Utah at 16, and he's got BYU at 24.
All right. That's a discrepancy of like 6 places.
8, but good math by you.
Well, yeah, you count the other 2, and you add that, and you come up with that. That's the number you conclude and reach.
Conclude and reach.
I'm trying to create education better.
Okay. Oh, here she is, Haley Sawyer.
Yeah. What do you got? Come on.
Utah's down to 24, and she doesn't have BYU in.
24?
Mm-hmm. Yep. 24. Behind Clemson and right in front of Baylor. She dropped Michigan to 21. She's got your Devils at 22.
Smart gal.
She's got the 1-1 Devils in front of the 2-0 Utes.
Well, yeah.
They went on the road to the
but,
SEC.
Well,
so
yeah, but the problem was they weren't ranked in her ballot last week.
I
don't know that. I just made that up. It's funny how there's so much attention is put onto this thing each week, and fan bases really
get into it.
They do.
And it's going to change a lot. I saw a story that don't pay attention to the week 2 ballots, wherever people are, wherever the teams are, because at this point last year, 11 of the 25 teams that were ranked are going to finish unranked. People are guessing. There's not enough information.
I think they're kind of guessing at all times anyway.
Yeah, but at least you have more data later. 10 games to count on.
But
how
do you know who's 10th and who's 14th? They're all individual opinions and approximations. And if 10 played 14, 14 might beat them by 2 touchdowns. You really have no idea.
Nobody would have voted Ohio State in front of Oregon since Ohio State lost to Oregon, but they played again on a neutral field, and Ohio State crushed Oregon and won it all. And nobody would have had a 2-loss team as the number 1 team in America. And yet when they played on the field, that's how it played out.
Well, but that's not really a ballot at that point.
I mean, it was a ballot every week in the AP. I mean, go back and look at the AP poll last year.
Yeah, but I would have no problem if they played in week 7, in week 8, putting Ohio State ahead of Oregon. I mean, Will Howard kind of blew that, thought he had time. If he had gone down a little bit of a fraction earlier, they would have had a shot at a field goal. And it's not the most exciting play in football. I've come to the conclusion. You know what the most exciting play in football is?
I do not, but I'm about to find out.
It is. It's undeniable. It is the fire drill field goal.
Oh, when they come racing out on the field?
There is nothing
the clock's
that gets
running.
your adrenaline going more than that.
The scramble of 22 people trying to get in on it.
It is awesome to watch, man. Yeah. Didn't TCU do it last year?
Yeah.
Or was it the year before?
Oh, they had multiple circumstances, yeah.
And you just see these, they just haul out there like their lives depend on it, and they got to get, that was what was sort of unfortunate in Buffalo and Baltimore the other night, is they had enough time that it wasn't the classic fire drill. It was sort of, half speed, maybe 3/4, because they knew they had enough time to get set up, get their breath, and then kick the field goal.
The ex-coach will come on the air in the broadcast and tell you, and I forget what the number is, but it's like 14 or 18 seconds or whatever they know they need to get everybody out there and get set.
They practice it.
And they practice it, and they drill it,
right.
And they know in a game they can look at the clock, we got time or we don't.
But you rarely see it, but when you see it, it's absolutely awesome.
It needs the 4th down kick because teams have gotten very good at using the spike to stop the clock and remove. They either have a timeout or they use the spike.
It doesn't necessarily have to be on 4th down. It just has to be up against the clock. And if it's up against the clock, like we've seen a couple of times here already, I find that play wildly exciting.
I think they have to do it on 4th down because I think otherwise they use the spike to stop the clock and get the field goal team out there.
Depending, I suppose so, but suppose some big offensive lineman trips, he can blow the whole thing up.
It's true. It's true. And we're all looking, refereeing the game from home, like there are like half a dozen guys there, like, the guard's moving, he's moving. He wasn't set, throw the flag.
It has become the most exciting play in football. They should make it under 20 seconds, you can't call timeout.
you and your rules, man.
So you could see it more often.
So many goofy rules.
But it's fun to see all those guys.
It is fun.
Especially from the offensive perspective.
Yeah, the defense, not so much. They don't have to be set. And if they don't get everybody out there, they probably weren't blocking it. But the 11 have to be out there. They can't have the penalty.
Right.
And the kicker's got to find his quote-unquote rhythm so quickly.
Yeah, I think it's more, it might be somewhat easier for him. But the snapper,
and
he's got to get down, make
snap,
sure
hold,
to get
all
the ball
3 things
gripped in his hands, and the holder, the amount of pressure that's on the holder, the snapper and the holder. Oh my gosh! If you blow that, you've just let down everybody.
Mm-hmm.
You've let down the entire team. You let down the entire fan base. It's just an amazing play, and it reminds me of penalty kicks when it's 4-4. Just
the tension. This is it.
Yeah.
This is it.
Yeah.
You've got to save it, score, whatever.
And the sole focus is on you. It's really a cool play, and I like to see it.
DJ PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. The poll question has wrapped up from yesterday's show. We'll put a bow on that. And also, coming up at the top of the hour, Ute fans, are they going to go? Are they going to go back in time? We'll get to that next. Stay with us.
It's game week for the Utes, and the KSL Sports Zone is getting you ready for kickoff. The Utes are 2-0 and look to wrap up their non-conference schedule undefeated as they hit the road to Laramie for a battle against Wyoming. Listen all week long for the best coverage of Utah football. Then catch college football Saturday game day at 10 a.m. with a post-game show immediately following the game on KSLSports.com.
Let's go then. Let's go, baby.
Your home for the best coverage of Utah football is live on air, online, and on the KSL Sports app. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
The band of the day today is lead guitarist Joe Perry. You want to guess why, PK?
Yeah, it's got to be his birthday.
And?
And what?
How old is he? You're good at this.
Oh, the Aerosmith guys? I mean, they're well in their 70s, 76, 75.
75, there it is. Brought to you by Live Nation. For all the live concerts and events in 2025, check out livenation.com.
Yeah, I just saw the Eagles, and most of their guys outside of Fry's son, they're in their upper 70s, and they've just extended more at the Sphere in Vegas. It's like they'll never stop playing until they're dead at the Sphere in Vegas. And you look on there, and I thought, obviously I've been a huge Eagles fan, although there's only one original member, but there's two who've been in there for 40-plus years, so that counts.
That's good enough.
But the prices are so outrageous, man. I just don't want to pay that kind of money.
What are they?
Well, for anywhere from down low to over $1,000 to $300-$400, and then you put in the fees, and you got to
and two tickets. So if it's $400, it's $800.
No, I thought about going just myself. She can stay home.
You did not.
Well, then you got to drive over there, gas money, and the shows get out late, and so you got to get a hotel, and I've seen them a bunch, so I haven't done it. I did it for Chesney because I wanted to see the Sphere, and I finagled a way to get it a little cheaper. There's a certain way that I have, and I can get seats, and then I can improve my seats in a manner that has worked a couple of times for me.
People from Jersey playing an angle.
But I'm already there. I'm already on the site. I'm already in the building. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, if the tickets range from $300 to $1,000, even if you get in at $300 or $400, which is going to be $600 or $800, because you're not leaving your wife at home, no matter how many jokes you make on the radio, and then you throw fees on that. Even if you upgrade, it's like, okay, these seats would be $1,200 or $1,400. By the time I was all in.
Right.
It's still a lot of money.
Right. And
even if you feel like you got a little more value.
And if you grew up the way I did, spending money
on that kind of
was
stuff?
Chinese torture.
Not doing it.
Anything. I went to Niagara Falls this year, and I told you take the boat. They showed a thing on the Buffalo game. They showed a little snapshot when they're coming in and out of breaks of that, because it's up the road a little bit there, obviously from Buffalo. And they showed it on the boat. And they get on that boat, and they says, "You will get wet." No. You will get drenched. And so I had my wallet, and I had dollar bills in there, and they were soaked. And the other morning, I bought an egg sandwich from the local bagel shop. It was a weekend, and I swear the money was still wet. That goes to show you how drenched you get, and goes to show you that I don't spend money. So there you go. But these bands here continue to play. I may have to go to see Zach Brown there, I was told. And it's a cool venue. I get it.
We had a question of the morning yesterday. What's the best kickoff time? And by a wide margin, our listeners prefer the 5 p.m. TV window, which I get is sometimes 5:30 or 6. But that's what they want. They want all day to hang out with their friends, do whatever they got to do with the kids or the chores or whatever, have time to tailgate, and then still get out of there, have the game end, 5 o'clock game, and end around 8:30.
What time of year, though? Does it matter?
I did not put that in the question. There's 4 TV windows. When do you want it to kick off?
Because this time of year, absolutely. But deep into November, that's essentially a night game.
Right.
And it can
You might prefer the 10 or 1:30 then. Get a little daylight, get a little warmer.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of times here on a Saturday in November at 1:30 in the afternoon, a jacket will suffice. But other times, maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe that's part of the fun. You get all dressed up.
Well, I guess you fans are getting what they want then, 4 o'clock and 6 o'clock. I guess for a road game in Wyoming, you're not going to get back after 6 o'clock, but it's not too late. Game will still end at a reasonable hour. It's not like it's going to midnight.
Right, yeah. 4 o'clock, that's what the game
was the Cal Poly game.
Yeah, that was nice. I got home about close to 8:30 by the time I do all my work and get on the road and get home. That was decent enough. Sure beats 2:15 in the morning. That stinks.
Little inconvenient to play a primetime game for the West Coast TV audience.
Yeah, that's wow. For me, since I get up early every day, there's no way I'm sleeping past 8 o'clock. And then you're gassed the whole next day. But that's if you go to the game. But yeah, I can handle the 5 o'clock. That makes sense to me.
BYU's got a 5:30 for East Carolina, so you're probably not traveling, probably watching that on TV. But that'll be over by 8:30 or 9. But then they're right back into the 8 o'clock starts with.
Yeah, but if you're a TV
Colorado,
game,
West
what difference
Virginia.
does it make? You're not going anywhere. TV
Some
games.
people, I mean, don't you talk to fans who are like, I just can't stay up to midnight watching games. They crash at halftime, 11 o'clock, whatever. You famously once during a Jazz game, which I get there's a million more of them, but you fell asleep because it was a late game and went way late and ended up being a big shot, and you woke up to replays.
Yeah, but that's football's different. I haven't heard too many people complain about the start time if you're staying at home.
You can live with that.
Yes.
Well, that's what BYU's got these next 2 games. I mean, they're on the road for East Carolina.
Well,
Colorado.
yeah, all these games that'll be starting with the times to come, there'll be a slew of night games.
And then they West Virginia, that was always a weeknight primetime game.
I would be shocked if BYU at Arizona was not a night game. Still a little warm in Tucson at that time of year. I would really be surprised if they kick off with the sun still up. So
I can see your logic.
They're going to have, they always do, and we'll see what
happens with BYU and Utah.
I'm hoping it's 1:30. That would be great in October. If you're going to not have it at the end of the season, can we give you something? Although last year was late, right?
And it was an awesome game.
It was, yeah. At that point, I declined my membership in the Big 12 afterward.
DJ and PK, Wyoming. It's like the good old days. Back to the Mountain West. Back to the WAC. How many of you fans will make the trip? We'll get to that next. Stay with us. DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. Got a question up on the Facebook page. You fans, how about making the trip to Laramie for old time's sake? I just talked to a longtime Ute fan who is considering exactly that.
Your wife?
Nope.
Your son?
Nope.
Your brother?
Nope.
Your guma?
My what?
You don't have a guma?
Would that be your grandmother?
No.
Oh.
Somebody else you might be expending sweet emotion on.
Got it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Christopher Molosante, his wife's pregnant. He's got a guma. Come on.
Right.
That's just
so
not cool.
Saturday, was it Friday they bring the wives to the club and Saturday they bring the guma, or was it the wives on Saturday and the gumas on Friday?
Hey, I don't pay attention to that stuff.
It was in one of your favorite movies.
I'm faithful.
Uh-huh. But you still know about it from one of those movies.
I've never cheated on my old lady once.
But it's one of those movies.
And believe me, I've had opportunities.
Stop.
Can I tell a quick story?
Yuck. Yeah, just we're going to produce on
No,
the air. Yuck.
no,
Yuck.
no.
This is why I say 2 guests, 1 at 8, 1 at 9. This wouldn't have happened.
We had a late cancellation yesterday.
I'm aware, but I'm just saying this is precisely why.
Talk about things that
Go ahead.
nobody cares.
Tell your story.
So my buddy Jason Reed, you know him, right?
He's been on the show.
And he's on ESPN and all, right?
And he worked for the Daily Breeze back in the day. You guys answered high school phone calls together.
I didn't. He did. He was part-time. I was big full-time.
Oh, you were already past the high
yeah.
school answering phones?
That was what we hired, like 4 or 5 part-timers came in each night to do that because we had a billion schools, and he was one of them at that point. I knew him as a part-time. He's 19 years old. Now he's in his 50s, blah, 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 wrote that book, yada, yada.
He's hit it big.
Yeah.
He's living the dream.
And so I think he was working for the Times in Los Angeles, and we meet in Tucson for the Utes basketball.
NCAA tournament?
Yeah, I think
they went down there one year.
Van Horn was a senior.
Won a couple games.
Maybe a
Cruised
junior.
through it.
I can't remember.
Right.
But anyway, so we're both going to go there. He's flying from LA. I'm flying from here, right? And the Utes are playing the Friday, Sunday, so we are going to go out on Wednesday. We get into town, and because then they get the press conferences on Thursday, right? And so we hook up. We go out to hang out. There's NBA games on, and we're at a sports bar, and this waitress is all over him. She's sitting on him big time, and my eyes are bugging out of my head, thinking, "What is going on?" He is totally turned off, and finally he looks, "Oh man, I'm tired. I gotta go," and he gets up and he goes. And I'd been traveling. I lost track of time. I'm sitting there. I look at my watch. It's 7:30, which means it's only 6:30 his time.
He's tired. He's got to go.
What he did is he went outside and he waited for me. And he said, "Oh, man, that was so disgusting." I said, "She's just hitting on him big time." And he just said, "No way." It's so gross. He's married and all, and an upstanding man, as you would assume. So I just remember that of being on the road and him just saying, "Oh,
I'm tired.
and tired." And I lost total track of time because I was traveling that day.
7:30. What are you, 4 years old?
Yeah. He told me I just had to get outside. So go ahead.
You fans, how about that trip to Laramie for old time's sake? And Steve says, well, at least it won't be freezing.
It won't be, no. Should be fine.
Kyle telling that story, it was cold and they had the heater on the sideline and his dad's pants caught on fire. Cracked himself up telling that story.
Hot pants?
Basically.
Oh, I'm on fire.
Had to put the fire out on Dad.
If you fans have a chance to go, I would encourage you to go. I know it takes time and money and commitment, but if you can, I think you'll have a great experience. Obviously, you're going to be favored to win. And, you know, Wyoming, I think Wyoming folks get a bad rap. And I had been there many, many times for football and basketball, obviously. And, you know, basketball was difficult because of the weather. And I had some harrowing experiences myself, right? It's the only place I've been driving. I'm driving up from Denver, so I'm going west on I-80 to get over to Laramie. You hit it at Cheyenne where the I-25 ends at I-80, and you go left, you go west. And the sun, I have a sunroof on my rent-a-car, and I always used to rent a freaking as big car as I can get, because you just never know. And you can see the sun. The sun is shining, and you can't see 2 feet in front of you because it had snowed the day or two before, and the wind just whipping the snow right across from you, and it's completely sunny out, and you're in a snowstorm. I've never experienced that before. And that night at basketball, the Utes were so good, so they always had a lot of big Monday games, and it was just herring. But football was usually pretty doggone nice.
There were some November games for both teams that I remember going up there.
That's hence usually.
Right. But if you have a September-October game, which they didn't used to really have that many September games, once in a while maybe.
Early October, I can recall going up there with both teams, and it's completely fine. And, all these things that happen. And I got to say, that's the small minority. Most of the fans, they'll treat you nice. The staff treat you like gold. Now, I realize the fans aren't going to be interacting with
the staff like you were.
Employees, yeah. I mean, the staff there at Wyoming, nobody would treat you visiting media better. I can honestly say that. And I've been around to all these places, and they treated you like you were their literal house guest, and they wanted to make sure you had a great time. And back in the day, in basketball, I knew the guy. We'd sit behind, and right behind us would be the fans. And in those days, you didn't have your phone and all, and so they would talk to me, and they give you the stats, and I'd give them to them, and they'd pour over it. They're such loyal, hardcore fans. It's not easy being a Wyoming fan, and they were some great fans. And you'll experience it. If you had gone before, you'll experience a little bit of a throwback.
I remember moving here and having it explained to me, Bill Marcroft and Reese Stein, and asking about, there was a thing, I can't remember what the deal was. It was a Wyoming kickoff, maybe when it was first starting to get moved for TV. And the fans were, and I think it's because it got moved to 5 o'clock, which actually was funny because that's the favorite time for the poll question here. But Reese and Bill were explaining, no, people are leaving their ranches and driving 2 and 3 hours one way to see a football game.
Right, that's for sure.
And so they're worried. They're thinking, normally that game would start at noon or 1 or whatever their traditional kickoff time was. And this 5 o'clock game is going to go till 8:30, and people are going to be getting home at midnight.
Oh, for sure.
Having driven 6 hours that day.
Yeah.
And that's why it's such a big deal.
In basketball, what they would do over the PA is they'd give you the road conditions of like 7 or 8 roads. Freeways or whatever,
state highways,
to get to
get wherever you might be going, because they knew people were coming and going for there, because obviously they know where their season ticket holders are coming from.
Yeah, and so
that was basically your clue of like, okay, get a place in town.
They would give you the weather reports,
if,
particularly in basketball.
Get a hotel room and try tomorrow, or go for it right now because the weather's good.
Yeah, they would literally give you the reports, and back then it wasn't as easily accessible as it is now. Yeah, always had a good time there. And I felt a sense of, I don't know, what's the word that I'm looking for?
Nostalgia?
Yeah, nostalgia is a good word. When the Cougars played Wyoming in the Poinsettia Bowl, the last Poinsettia Bowl, that was fun. And the Wyoming horse was there, and the Wyoming fans, they stick out. Every year you knew where the Wyoming folks were in the arena at the Thomas and Mack because of the colors. A lot of colors would blend together. Not Wyoming's colors.
A lot of different shades of red. UNLV was wearing red. Utah was wearing red. New Mexico and San Diego State were wearing red. Fresno would be in red. And then there'd be a stripe of brown and gold. I know who those people are. The rest of the time I have to wait for someone to score a bucket. And then I know.
Right.
By the cheering.
Yeah, Air Force would be blue. BYU would be blue. But the brown and gold, they stood out. And they relished that. They know they're in a extremely limited population-wise state. They know that Laramie is not a glamour location. Their coach in basketball, Joby Wright, I think his name was, he lived in Fort Collins. His wife had some health issues, too, and needed that. But he would commute.
45 minutes?
Yeah. If you went up that, I think it's 287 was that road. So they understand all that, and they revel in it, man. And my experience was they were solid people, really solid people.
David says, I'll be there Saturday. Tickets were still semi-reasonable. He says, let's not talk about Utah or BYU tickets. Holy cow.
Right.
And even high school games over $10 now.
Yeah. I don't know what the prices are, but I would imagine that they are reasonable. And you get to go on the road. You get to be with your team. You're most likely going to win the game. And
outside of BYU, there's not a shorter, I guess Vegas maybe, if you played UNLV or played at Allegiant Stadium in terms of drivable distance. If you can go, and it's one road. You get on I-80 and you are good to go.
Nate says, I'll go only if Coach flips off Coach Whittingham. Then it'll be old time's sake. Matt, I was at the game when the Utes did an onside kick up 40-0 on Wyoming and got flipped off by Joe Glenn after he guaranteed a victory against the Utes early in the week. Those were good times.
How many years was Kyle into his head coaching job at that point?
2 or 3.
Okay, he's a different person.
Yeah. I think that game was before the Sugar Bowl, which was his 4th year.
Yeah. He would never do that now. No. It would be...
He was breathing fire at that point.
Yeah, and you have to look at Kyle Whittingham, and I try to understand people and where they're coming from. Sometimes I do a crappy job, but he's an undersized guy to play linebacker, right? And he
had to bring some fire.
Yeah. Right.
And he started coaching, and he still had the fire.
Right. And he has to succeed Urban Meyer, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah.
So Kyle's first year, they beat Wyoming at home 43-13, and it was one of like 3 straight whoopings they put on him and had like a 6-game win streak. They went up to Laramie his second year and lost 31-15, so he's probably already on fire about that loss.
So it's his third year?
So his third year, 07, they win 50-0.
That was the onside
That must have been 40-0 with an onside kick.
Union. Hey guys, we're going to beat them. Hey, you got to be accountable for what you say. You just can't say anything and get away with it. You've got to be on the record, and when you go on the record, you must pay for your consequences. He's not going to do that now. You got to allow people some leeway here.
Mm-hmm. And people grow and change over 20 years, it turns out. And his job, you forget he was on the hot seat there at the start.
No question.
16-13 record early in his 3rd season, which is the one where he does the so. And there was plenty of speculation. I distinctly remember asking you at the end of a show when we'd been talking about it. What's Kyle's future? What do they have to do? What's success? What isn't? And because he started, I think, 1-3 that year and got shut out of Vegas, and it was going the wrong way.
It was.
And you looked at me and you really thought about it. It wasn't smart ass PK.
Wow.
It was rock solid journalist reporting PK. And you're like, it's 50-50. Anything could happen. He could get it together and get on a roll, or it could just keep going wrong.
And I was nervous for him.
Yeah.
Because I like the guy. Everybody knows that.
We're talking about it, and he's literally about to get on the roll of a lifetime.
I know. The amount of winning that they had.
They went 8-1.
It was off the charts.
They went 8-1 to finish the year. They went 12-0 the next year, and then they posted back-to-back 10-3s.
Yeah, the guys winning all the time. If they lost, it was a shock.
Yeah.
And at that point, he cemented. He's good to go.
40 wins, 7 losses to finish his Mountain West portion of his career and into the Pac-12.
Yeah, in those days, he had big ears.
He did.
And big eyes.
He did.
And now,
there was
nothing.
There was a story along those lines about, it was a bad start. And, there's some reference to digging a hole. And the graphics department at the Trib decided to put a backhoe. We would call it, photoshopping now. Then it was graphics work. But it was like Photoshop a backhoe in there and digging a hole at midfield. And he was mad at the reporter. That was Michael C. Lewis. And I remember I was with him right after it came out. How could he do that? I'm like, Michael doesn't do the graphics. There's 0 chance. He probably didn't know about the graphic until either someone told him or he saw it in the paper in the morning. Those departments are talking. And he's like, no way. I'm like, yeah. But he doesn't worry about that stuff now. Long since stopped worrying about that stuff.
Yes, and rightly so. Because once you start worrying about those things,
you're distracted from the main thing.
It becomes the beginning of the end, or you know where it's going to end. How many coaches have had big explosions and they end up being okay? Like Sarkisian's thing that he said 2 days ago.
That wasn't good.
That made me nervous for him.
Yeah.
Because I told the guys in my golf league,
and they hadn't heard about it, and they busted up. Like, what? What are you talking about? I said it was unexplainable. It made no sense. It was ridiculous. And that tends to be a thin-skinned person, and in this business, you got to just take your shots. Shots are going to be taken at you, and you're just going to have to roll with it. I do think there's fewer shots more than ever because I think the media, it's far more acceptable, and maybe this is my bias, but it's far more acceptable to be a fan now. And almost to the point of being open. And so I don't think that they get what they don't get the grilling that they used to get. But some places, that's not the same.
I think that a big part of it is that they get fired now. It used to be you had 5 years, you had the contract, and you had your 5-year plan, you played it out. And so if a coach was struggling by year 3, there's 2.5 years for the columnists to write the stories about, can this guy do it or not? And now you maybe write one of those stories, and some boosters writing the buyout, the fans are way more on fire. The boosters are way more on fire than the fans or the media, and they just pull the ripcord and away you go.
I think social media has led to that.
Yeah, and
it's
I think
more public now.
Right. I think Gundy at Oklahoma State and maybe Ferentz at Iowa.
That's Gandhi.
Not
Mahama, as in G-O-N-E.
Those two have been on the job for so long that's more old school in the way that there's been a long time to write, hey, the offense at Iowa isn't good enough. The quarterbacking at Iowa isn't good enough. And now it's been multiple coordinators and multiple coaches, so it's on, or multiple offensive coordinators and multiple quarterbacks, so it's on the head coach. There's been time to write that story and develop it, but most places it's just a whirlwind, and boom, the coach is gone.
Yeah, and then you've got the national stuff, too, that weigh in that you maybe didn't have, and they could put coaches on the hot seat so they can perpetuate what they call the narrative on that, and it can gain a life of its own. Yeah. I saw something on social media, some lady, probably in her 30s, maybe early 40s, they asked her what she would do if she won the lottery, and she said she would pay off DeBoer's contract at Alabama.
No way.
Yeah.
That'd be the last thing that I would do if I won the lottery. I would be paying off no coach's contract.
Because he had some massive buyout, and it matters that much to her that
and there's the difference
Crimson
between
Tide win games.
Alabama, San Diego State, and UC Santa Barbara. I wouldn't be buying out any coaches.
Well, she may have been joking, but that was her response. And if I saw the video of it and it didn't sound like she was joking.
And you're right about national people, coaches on the hot seat. Pat Forty's got 5 coaches on the hot seat, and I bet you can guess them.
Pat $1.40?
Mm-hmm. His 40-yard dash. He does that thing.
Oh, that's clever.
Uh-huh. And you know the coaches. Who's on the hot seat? College football.
Kalen DeBoer.
He did not put him on the list.
No?
Yeah.
I think he is. The guy at Michigan, what's his name, Moore?
Sharon Moore, yeah.
Yeah. And these are big-time programs that are big-time winning is required. You don't get 3 and 4 years at these places.
He has Ferentz and Gundy, and he has Deshaun Foster at UCLA.
But that's always. Mm-hmm. You could put that the day after the new coach gets the job, put that coach on a job.
Billy Napier. Billy Napier of
course,
Florida.
Of course.
Yeah. And he has Brent Pry at Virginia Tech, who somewhat surprisingly got a 4th season despite a 16-21 record. And now they're 0-2.
Yeah, I'm not following Virginia Tech.
I wasn't either.
I don't even know. I couldn't even. I don't know if I could have named you the name of the coach.
I could not have. I was surprised. And then I saw 16-21. That just goes to we are so immersed in the Big 12 right now. Yeah.
Oh,
he's 16. He's 16-21. 0-2 in his 4th year. So there you go. There's his 5. Yeah, he didn't have Michigan on the hot seat yet.
Well, I actually even saw a list of candidates for Napier's job. Lanning was on it.
DJ PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. Coming up top of the hour, Alex Taylor, Wyoming Cowboy beat writer for the Laramie Boomerang and the Wyoming Tribune Eagle. He's got an AP vote. He thinks the Utes are very, very good. We will talk with him about that and the game this weekend coming up at 9 o'clock. It's a Win Tickets Wednesday. We're giving those tickets away coming up in about 20 minutes right here. Oh, you want to do it next? Yak wants to do it next. So concert tickets right after the break. Stay tuned.
Accessing.
This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G.
The man who graces us with his presence every Tuesday at this time, it is Ian Fitzsimmons.
I'm begging you, just a message to the Red Raiders and to the Utes. Deliver this outstanding game to us next weekend. Everyone talks about John Mateer and Ben Arbuckle going from Washington State to Oklahoma. But, Dan Pierre, if you want to call it the JV version of that OC and that quarterback coming in from Mexico, go right ahead. But they ain't playing like JV, man. They look good. And that O-line, that D-line, we talked about it before week 1. This is a team that is hell-bent to prove that last year was a fluke. And they're doing it right now. They're trucking anybody in front of them. So, Wyoming, I hope you're next for the old Kyle Whittingham bus to come and run you over. And then let's get ready for a hell of a contest next week.
Catch Hans and Scotty weekdays from noon to 3 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
It's a Win Tickets Wednesday. Caller 12 right now. 801-575-ZONE wins a pair of tickets to see Breaking Benjamin and 3 Days Grace with Return to Dust. Saturday, September 27th at the Utah First Credit Union Amphitheater. Call now. Caller 12, 801-575-ZONE.
I just clicked on ESPN, and they posted a story that Alabama got a top 50 commit in basketball, Terrace Bowie. Only thing I can assume is that BYU didn't want him.
Oh, nice. Can't take all the top 50.
Why not?
Don't have that many roster spots.
Oh, well, you can have like the Monarchs.
Back to the BYU JV.
Well, anytime I see a top whatever, and I think, wow, man, BYU must not wanted him.
Tony Bryant, rejected by BYU, so he went to Missouri.
The number 33 player, ranked 33rd on ESPN 100. Trimmed his list: Alabama, Cincinnati, Georgetown, Marquette, Mississippi State, NC State, Ole Miss, and Texas. But he's going to Alabama.
Alabama.
I knew Alabama would, but just morph into a basketball school.
Used to have a coach who wore a red and white checked sports coat. Wimp Sanderson, I think was his name.
Yeah.
That was Alabama hoops when I was a kid.
I think Oates has broken it out a couple of times.
Yes, they've had some good teams.
But, I mean, he's wore that coat.
Oh, yeah.
As sort of a reminder. Yeah. I've been in that arena. The Utes played there many years ago.
It was a big deal at the time.
Yeah, going down to Alabama, and then Alabama came back here. I think they were number 1. I think I
was
Britain's team, and they beat them.
Yep. And there was a court storming. And people could have been hurt.
That is one of the most overplayed.
I know, that's why
people
I said
could die. Nobody's died from a court storming. It's just, you have to have an order. There's got to be rules to court storming.
Mm-hmm.
Students?
No 40-year-olds?
If you have a child under 10.
So you can storm to protect the 10-year-old from the 20-year-old trampling.
When you're a 10-year-old and you're seeing a 20-year-old, this is like bigger than life, those players. So then the students go first, and then you have it in 5-minute increments. And that ought to give you enough time to get off the floor. And it ought to be said, if you storm the floor, you do it at your own risk. So if you get in a player's face.
That's what they're really afraid of, is the visiting player. The home team wins. It's a big upset. The home fans storm the court. Somebody says something, and a visiting player snaps. That's what everyone's trying to avoid.
Well, then they have rules.
Yep.
Don't get in a visitor's face. Ignore them completely. If they are in your path, move out of the way and let them proceed in an orderly fashion to the locker room. Yes, don't get in anybody's face from the other team.
Mm-hmm.
If you do that, then that doesn't remove the responsibility of the player, but that also doesn't remove the responsibility of the player whacks you, which rarely happens. If it were to happen, you need to have responsibility too. And I think by and large, the Ute fans have been great about storming the field. I mean, they're very good at it. And then the one idiot tries to get in Bronco's face.
And it becomes legend.
Yes.
Good thing he was wearing suspenders.
And then that was in the early days of Twitter, and then I put it out there because I was standing, not less than 10 feet away, and I put it out there, and guys accused me of making bleep up. And then when they saw the video, they deleted their tweets.
The video appears. No accountability.
Yeah.
You should onside kicked on him.
But this idea, would they fine Ole Miss for doing this? This is ridiculous. Fine them. They won a big game, or Mississippi State, I think it was, last week.
Mm-hmm. In dramatic fashion.
They beat the Sun Devils.
Long touchdown pass with 30 seconds left.
They're only the fourth team who's beat Dillingham.
They just have to storm after every win. And when you go 2-10, they're just happy to win a game. They win 2-10.
Who?
Mississippi State.
Oh, they're not going. That's
happy
last
to win
year.
A game. Yeah, but I know. But their fans are happy to win a game. They just went through 2-10.
No, but that's last year.
It is last year. I get that.
But Mississippi State has had fine teams. Dan Mullen coached there.
Mm-hmm. That was probably that might be their best run. He might have done the best work there.
They're fine, which is why I can't believe that you downplayed him and didn't think he'd be able to beat UC Los Angeles.
I did not.
I tried to teach you, but you don't want to learn.
Well, I'd seen a little bit of that Idaho State game, and they had two starters back, and I was scared.
All of the Utah game.
Uh-huh.
They suck.
They do. I believe you.
You mark my words.
Will he have the worst record at UCLA in 50 years? Will this team completely unravel?
I'd say 63 years.
What do you got, New Mexico or UCLA now?
I'm going with the Lobos all the way. And it's funny that we had those guys talking early. Man, if they can beat Utah, they could start 4-0. They're not even going to get to 4 wins on the season.
It doesn't look like it. It's like they got New Mexico and Northwestern, and they will not be favored in any games after that. They may pull an upset, but I don't think they're going to be favored.
Yeah, and then they're going to give up.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to pack it in.
If they get down a score or two at against New Mexico, what happens? They pack it in right then? And the wheels just come completely off?
Yeah, I'd have to see the complexion of the game on that. And then we're going to have another 5-star quarterback who just isn't good enough and gets all this hype.
And all the money.
Is he the next Ongulele?
Good enough to play, but not good enough to be a star.
Yeah, but then they start bouncing around. I mean, how many years is he in Westwood? Can't you see him transferring?
He's still a sophomore, so yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to guarantee that anybody stays anywhere 3 years. They either the kid wants to go or the kid finds out they're recruiting over the top of him or bringing in another transfer, and they head off somewhere to play.
Or the program just sucks, and you want to win a little bit more.
Yeah. I mean, a new head coach wants a new quarterback. That wouldn't be surprising.
Oh, they're not going to fire Deshaun Foster after 2 years.
They don't have the money. They got Big Ten money now.
So what?
I know they got to give some of it to Cal.
I mean, you're
just
why
football
hire
struggle.
him if you're only giving him 2 years? It's not like he took over Alabama.
Let football struggle and put the money in basketball.
I don't think you can let football struggle. I think there's too much at stake.
Well, if the team quits and it all unravels. They need to beat
it's already
They
unraveled.
need to beat New Mexico and Northwestern really badly.
I think they do. I agree with your point.
And then
find themselves a way to get 2-2, and then you're looking at trying to get the 6 wins for the bowl eligibility. And that becomes the primary goal.
Yep.
And then if you get that, well, you can say you've shown progress. And you have. You have shown progress. I think fan bases and administrations, you have to have some sense of realism here. What are you trying to accomplish? Now, what you're trying to accomplish versus what other program is trying to accomplish, it may be two different things. It's like retirement plans. They're all not the same. That's why Trajan Wealth can help all of you. You see what I'm saying?
I see what you did
What you got to
there.
have here with the Yak's making faces. You got to have reasonable expectations for your program may not be reasonable expectations for the program down the street or in the conference, right? And I think that's what you have to set up. Where are you on the totem pole? And how much is it going to take to get there? What are your checklists of goals? You know, we talk about everybody wants to go undefeated, and then if they have one loss in the non-conference, well, we've got the conference season. And then if they have one loss in the conference season, hey, man, no one's going undefeated. You know, and so you check them off. And for BYU last year, the dream literally stayed alive all 12 games of winning the conference title, in this case getting to the conference playoff game. And for Utah, in a shocking manner, by November, it was find a way to get to 6. It
all fell apart, yeah.
Although I wonder how bad they really wanted to get to 6. Because that meant you had to practice more and had to play in a crappy bowl as opposed to you could be done.
They don't want to have a losing season because it sounds and looks terrible. But you're right. The desire to stick around for a few more weeks at that point was low. But the alternative was 5-7. They hated that too. You were left with bad choices.
Well, yeah, but either way is bad. I think what they did then, they wanted to make sure that they won the last game. So the seniors go out the right way. And then you were gratefully done, and that was it. And you put that to bed, and away you go. And then for the seniors, they go on and do their thing.
Go find your coordinator, go find your quarterback, and get on with it.
Right. And here we are this year, and now and I think it's true for Utah, I think their expectation of their fan base is accurate. Get to the playoff and see what you can do there. I think some folks with the Utes, they're a little bit overboard thinking, oh, man, we can compete with
Ohio State.
The best. I'm not so sure about that. But everybody else, I think you can. Yeah.
Well, we saw that in the playoffs last year with all the blowouts, and there were a few exceptions, but not many. And the ASU Texas game was one of them. It might be the only one.
Yeah.
So there really are tiers.
There are. Yeah.
And like you can get to the top 10, but you can still be a long way from the top 4.
Uh-huh. I agree with that. And I've got zero problem putting Utah in that second group. And we'll see if BYU, where they are. Maybe not this year, but man, if they find a way to get 8-9 wins and you got Grizzly Bear coming back, that changes everything. And you got the cash over here.
Now you're talking.
Yeah, possibly.
DJ PK, it's 97.5, The Zone.
You've been listening to The Zone for decades. Yes! But now you can watch the guys break down your favorite teams.
Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Catch the video stream of DJ and PK, Jake and Ben, Hanson, Scotty, and JJ and Alex right now at KSLSports.com or by searching KSL Sports on YouTube. Utah's best sports radio is on air, online, and on the KSL Sports app. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
The Mr. Mac Utah County High School Player of the Week this week was Westlake High School defensive back Finn Moore. He helped the Thunder beat South San Francisco, California 45-7 as he tallied a 48-yard pick six and also returned a kick 68 yards for a touchdown, in addition to contributing 2 tackles on defense. Don't miss the KSL Sports Game Night live game of the week this week as the Syracuse Titans take on the Alta Hawks. Catch the action Friday night on KSLSports.com, the KSL Sports app, or here on the KSL Sports Zone. The Utah County Player of the Week Award is proudly presented by Mr. Mac. No one buys, no one sells, no one cares the way they do. Absolutely no one.
Way to dunk it. Question of the morning. How could this happen? An AP voter moved Florida up 2 spots on her ballot after losing to South Florida. Police.
Police?
Puhlise. Leeeeeeeazey. No, that'd be Pleasy. Sorry,
Man, I
screwed it
fell
up at the end.
asleep on that one.
So it's pretty simple, isn't it? She was tired. She was in a hurry. She looked at last week's AP Top 25 and Move Team. She didn't look at her ballot from last week, and hence the mistake.
What do you mean we're all tired. We're all overworked, underappreciated. You think Kobe Bryant gave up because he was tired?
Nope, and he's not the voter who messed up the Top 25.
There's no excuse.
The Mamba mentality was made by other people who got their ballots correct.
Now, you're hesitant to read responses, which means that there's a lot of gender abuse there.
There's tons of them here. Hold on. Right. We got off this on the last one. That's why I brought it back up. There's a ton of response here. Kevin Graham getting shout-outs. I had forgotten about this. Chris, Kevin Graham may have been onto something with Quoof. You don't remember Quoof?
No.
Oh, he made a big deal of it. We can bring up Quoof when he comes on this week.
What is it?
Keep women out of football.
You know, you got to be careful on that.
Kevin never was. He just sprinted.
Now, this is a female.
So one person, whole group, there you go.
Yeah, let's be careful on that.
Don, popularity contest, nothing more. The polls are a total joke. Larry, just shows you how stupid the AP poll is.
Well, then why do we put so much emphasis on it if it's so stupid?
And why do we allow it to craft national narratives?
Why do we allow it to craft national narratives? Man.
You know, when you said that, I thought there's a 0% chance that PK lets that go.
Craft national
narratives.
Man, I can just sit back and think, wow, what a sentence. The syntax on that was simply beautiful.
Well, thank you.
Josh, who is she and why does she have a vote? Because she covers college football in Southern California.
That is correct.
There you go.
Why does anybody have a vote? The vote was because they want representation from all regions.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore so we're having this young fella here coming up, Wyoming, and he has a vote. You need representation from all regions.
Joining us next, representing the great state of Wyoming and the Wyoming Tribune Eagle and the Laramie Boomerang, Alex Taylor.
The thing about the Boomerang is no matter what you write, it comes back to you.
Wyoming Cowboys beat writer and a guy who is very high on the University of Utah.
I was always intrigued by boomerangs. How do they do that?
Don't know.
It's amazing to me.
We'll ask him about that next. Utah-Wyoming, get the lowdown on the Cowboys, and he is ranking the Utes much higher than most people in the country. We'll talk to him about that next. Stay with us. DJ PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. We're joined now by Alex Taylor, Wyoming Cowboy beat writer for the Laramie Boomerang and the Wyoming Tribune Eagle, also an AP Top 25 voter. Alex, good morning.
Gentlemen, how's it going? Good to be on.
Alex, did you flinch when you found out some voter moved Florida up 2 spots after a loss to South Florida, and you think, man, I got to make sure I check every ballot every week against what I did last week, not against what the poll was last week?
Yeah, it took me like a couple hours to kind of process that video. I feel like because I've been on the other side of that. I've made a little mistake before, and then I had to hear from it or hear about it from Miami fans last year and that's a long week when you make a mistake like that. But I never went out and made a video and said that the vote or the ballot doesn't actually matter. So I think that was I tweeted something about it, but I think if you would have just got ahead of it and said I read the box score wrong, I made a mistake and I'll fix it next week, I think we wouldn't be here talking about it.
I agree 100%, my man. That's exactly. It's like if you get caught doing something, they say the lie is worse than the actual offense. And if you just say that, because I've done it. I don't do it anymore. But I was telling a story earlier when Michigan one year, many years ago, was on fire. I forgot to put them in. I was on a road trip and I was hustling to the airport and I screwed it up, but didn't get near the attention. It's funny. We've talked about this. We keep hearing that these poll, particularly the AP poll, doesn't mean anything, right? That's the big storyline. But yet it still gets so much attention, which sort of is incongruent. If something doesn't mean it's literally meaningless to some folk, why does it matter so much? You know what I mean? It doesn't really make sense.
Yeah, it's really frustrating obviously she kind of said in the video, like, yeah, there's a ton of people that vote in this thing. I mean, there's 62 people, so I don't know if I would classify that as a ton. And I guess what's frustrating from my vantage point about the whole thing is it's really, I'm sure you went through this too. Like the turnaround on this thing is so quick, and you're at a pretty big disadvantage on the West Coast of just the turnaround. Like that thing is due, I think at I want to say 9 or 10 a.m.
Right.
Mountain time on Sunday. So I'd say 80-90% of the time for, say, I'm covering a Wyoming road game in Boise, Idaho, I'm turning that thing in at 5, 6 a.m. in the morning because I don't want to wait. I don't want to run the risk of waiting and something going wrong. So I'll do it after the game that I cover. So you're talking I don't know, 4 or 5 in the morning, and that's not I don't know what her process is that she was talking about. Obviously, it's not a very good one, but I'd try not to overlook anything, and I think you also have to represent the group of 5 a little bit, and especially these West Coast teams. It's very, very skewed to the East Coast, obviously, with just the majority of the teams being out there.
Well, Alex, one of the reasons I wanted to have you on was to talk about the game, and another was to have you talk about the Utes. You've got a lot of respect for this team. You got them up number 12 in the country. There's a half dozen people have them 11 or 12. You're one of them. Why are you so high on the Utes?
Well, I'm going to be honest, Devin Dampier. I've had the opportunity to watch him play twice now, obviously as New Mexico's starting quarterback. My first experience watching him play was he actually came in as a backup. The guy in front of him in 2023. I don't know if I ever got a clear answer if he got benched or was hurt or both. But Devin Dampier ended up coming into this game against Wyoming. I think in third, fourth quarter. It was in the second half, and he almost willed them to a kind of a comeback win. During Wyoming's 9-win season 2 years ago. He had I want to say 71 rushing yards on 6 carries, and then obviously that was a little prelude to what he was able to do with the Lobos last year. And I would encourage any Utah fans listening to this or anybody that covers the Utes to go back and watch the highlights of that New Mexico-Wyoming game last year. I want to say it was 49-45 in Albuquerque.
Yep.
Devin Dampier had 207 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns, and then threw for 164 more yards and another touchdown. What kind of sank him, he threw a pick 6 right at the end. They kind of had an opportunity to, I think they racked up 500 or 400 something rushing yards against Wyoming, and they decided to throw it late in the fourth quarter, and he threw a pick 6, and then there was a strip sack on the next play. But I wanted to say, just from what I've seen, I know we're kind of talking about this AP ballot, especially this early in the season. I think it's good to get a difference in opinions this early in the season, just because one team's 2-0 is, I would rather rank a 2-0 team who maybe hasn't played that hard of a schedule over Notre Dame moved up a couple of spots, I think, after a bye week. So I think as a voter, I think you're allowed to maybe take some educational swings. Obviously, there's going to be some misses in there. We saw what happened with Florida State last year, and maybe Alabama too this year. We'll see. But I think last year was maybe a down year for Utah. I think obviously you guys all know that, but I like the direction that they're going with Devin Dampier and what he's able to bring to that offense behind a obviously a much better offensive line than he had in New Mexico.
Yeah, I agree with all that. There's a lot of logic into that. I saw Dampier play several times last year, and he was electric. And so far, he's doing what he needs to do here. We'll see as the season progresses when they get into league play. But right now, everything is looking great. Now, as far as Wyoming, they got a couple of nice games themselves. And last week, Northern Iowa, the home opener, and Caden Anderson goes down, takes a big hit. I think it was a lost fumble on that one, and he came out. Backup came in. So where do we stand with him as far as the quarterback situation?
Yeah, that was I was talking to offensive coordinator Jay Johnson. That was maybe a little bit of a combination of a miscommunication with the running back. Then also, it was almost like he got blindsided, but it was from the right side. Like he just didn't see it was a corner blitz, and he got absolutely smoked. Was on the ground for maybe 2-3 minutes before finally getting helped off, and he actually took a trip to the hospital before the game even ended to get some additional testing on his, I would assume, like his rib cage, upper body area. But Jay Salvell said Monday that he expects Caden Anderson to start and be available, which is obviously big for just Wyoming's offense right now. I mean, I would say that Jay Salvell is a transparent enough coach where I don't think this is like a Troy Calhoun, maybe say the guy's playing and then go throw out another quarterback as soon as the game starts. But I would assume that would mean that without any setbacks that Caden Anderson will be Wyoming's quarterback, and that's really big just in terms of his leadership. I mean, I know obviously he's only a sophomore, but he's kind of he's the engine of this offense. Obviously, he kind of is what makes this offense work, and I think we've kind of seen that early. Utah and Wyoming have kind of had similar starts to the season, just in terms of just Akron's obviously not a very good comparison point for where a Division I football program might be, and then obviously an FCS game. But I think this is kind of the first real true test of this offense, and it's kind of weird. I don't know if Salvell or Jay Johnson or anybody would ever call it this, but it's more of they've kind of switched to more of a spread offense since Craig Bull retired, which is obviously it's been a while that we've seen a balanced, like a 50-50 offense in Laramie, Wyoming.
Aiden's top receiver is Chris Durr Jr. It doesn't look like he played last year, but he didn't do that much. And now he's catching a third of the passes. He's got more than half of the yards. He's got 2 of the 3 touchdowns. Is it largely a one-man receiving crew, or are the Utes going to double him and dare everyone else to make a play?
Yeah, he should have played more last year. Salvell has said that. They made a change at wide receiver coach, partly because of that, I would like, or one of the reasons, obviously. But yeah, Chris Durr, he's not a big guy. He comes out of the slot. He's probably 5'10", maybe 170 pounds. So I'm curious. I've talked to Caden Anderson about it before, so I'd say him and tight end John Michael Gillenborg are 1-2 just in terms of favorite targets. And you kind of saw that against Northern Iowa, where it's kind of a matchup nightmare just in terms of you kind of got to pick one, and with them both operating out of the middle of the field, you would think that eventually that would open up something outside. So I'd say right now, Jalen Sargent, he was an All-Mountain West honorable mention. He plays out wide. He hasn't done much this year. He kind of came on late last year. He had a really big game in that New Mexico game I was talking about earlier. So I'd say him and Arizona transfer Jackson Holman are probably the top 2 outside wide receivers. But, yeah, I would say Utah's defensive game plan is going to start with Chris Durr and John Michael Gillenborg in the slot and at tight end.
Tell us about the defense. They're top 10 in terms of fewest yards allowed per play. So I'm wondering, you think that obviously Utah's offense has been really cooking so far. What do you think about that matchup?
Yeah, like I said, it's hard to kind of know where this Wyoming defense is. I mean, obviously, 2 games is 2 games, regardless of who you play. But I mean, when you're talking about Akron, who's probably a bottom 5 FBS team, and then Northern Iowa, who's kind of a bottom Missouri Valley FCS team. So it's kind of hard to gauge maybe where this unit is at. But I've been impressed just in terms of how many guys have played. I think in that Akron game, Savell said they played 22 defensive players over the course of the game, which was the most that they have since his time here in the last 5-6 years. So I think they had 2 returning starters both on the defensive line, Ben Florentine and Tice Westland. And I think the biggest guy that stood out to me, just newcomer-wise, is Braden Johnson, linebacker. He had a interception in the end zone that kind of kept that shutout against Akron. Ended up really swinging the momentum in that game. And he's just kind of he's a stud. I mean, he was at Oklahoma Baptist for the last 3 or 4 years, so he's just kind of one of those small-town kids that gets an opportunity with this new transfer portal era to come play at the Division I level as a senior. I was talking to him a couple weeks ago. He said he was growing up in Ringling, Oklahoma. He had like 27 teammates on his high school team, and it was 11-man Class 1A in Oklahoma. So just super small town kid that ends up coming to Laramie, Wyoming, and I think he's leading the team. I want to say he has like 14 tackles, that interception, pass deflection. So he's really stood out to me so far.
Well, it goes from Oklahoma's small town to the big city of Laramie. How's he adjusting?
Well, he said actually it's funny because Jay Salvo kind of made a joke about it, but I mean that the Wyoming spring game was probably the biggest crowd he's played in front of in his entire life, and then I'm sure you saw maybe some highlights of that Akron game. I want to say Wyoming spring game was probably a higher attendance than the Akron game. So last week was really his true first experience of playing in front of 25,000 people on a Saturday afternoon.
Is Wyoming getting hit hard by the transfer portal? I mean, if anybody puts up any numbers here, whether it's a lot of tackles, a lot of yards, whatever, does everybody come? Do all the Power 4 schools come calling for him immediately?
I would say yes and no. I mean, I think it's kind of like any other school where, I mean, obviously you're going to lose guys. Like, there's going to be tampering. I mean, and I wrote about it plenty with this offseason, just these seniors. I mean, like John Michael Gillenborg's, he was on the John Mackey preseason watch list. Like, he could have went anywhere. And Salvell had kind of a quote in the offseason, like John Michael Gillenborg is going up to Jay Salvell in the offseason. He's like, hey, like, whatever NIL money that you guys want to give me, like, just give it to another guy. I don't need it. Like, I want you to give it to somebody else. That way we can put together a good roster around me. And I think that comes down to maybe that player relationship with the coaching staff, and I think that kind of goes a long way. But yeah, I mean, obviously not every player is going to be like that. I mean, if when you were 18 or when I was 18 years old, and if I played football and somebody came up to me and said, hey, here's $200,000 to come play football here, like, yeah, I'd try to take that as a 19-year-old. Like, it's legal, and but you also kind of have to weigh the good and the pros and cons of that. And I think there's a couple examples, and this is with any school, especially at the group of 5, of like, hey, we'll pay you X amount of money to come to whatever Power 4 school, but then I guess you got to kind of weigh, like, are you going to play, or are you just kind of getting paid to be a practice squad guy or a scout team guy? just to add some depth into a better program. So I think there's definitely been some guys that put up decent numbers that went on to another level, but I'll sit here on a Saturday night or a Sunday morning and just kind of looking up their stats, and it's like their name's not even in the box score of the new team they're playing. So I don't know. It's kind of a pick your poison type of thing.
In Laramie, Wyoming, how are merchandising going as far as the sales of Buffalo Bills jerseys, in particular one player?
Yeah, it's pretty high, I would say. I think they're I'm sure you've seen recently in the news that, I mean, they're trying to really capitalize on the timing of this Josh Allen peak in the NFL thing, just obviously with he's going to become the first player in University of Wyoming history to have his number retired later this season against Nevada in November. He's actually going to fly back for that game, which will be his first trip back to Laramie since his pro day. And I'm sure you saw they bought a Super Bowl commercial right after he won the MVP. So like I said, I think they're really trying to capitalize on his success right now, and it would be dumb not to. Like a lot of fans get upset about how maybe he's not deserving of these accolades. I mean, he's getting inducted into Wyoming's Athletics Hall of Fame. And again, I'm not disagreeing with the sentiment that he's not the best player that's ever played at the University of Wyoming. And that's not what, I don't think that's what this is about. It's the fact that right now he's the most well-known University of Wyoming football player in the world. And not only just as an alum, but just also like he's one of the most popular NFL players on the planet right now. So I think that's turned into kind of a marketing strategy to get people to Laramie, Wyoming, and to get people to tune into Wyoming football. And I think if you asked anybody currently in the program, coaches, players, staff, whatever, I mean, they don't mind it one bit.
See, when you need to get out in the winter, you just need to be sent to these small towns in Oklahoma, Firebaugh, California. You get these guys coming out of these small towns. There got to be stories. There got to be great stories. You got to track those down.
There's Braden Wilson, defensive end, Weber State. He was like a two-time All-Big Sky guy. I think that was one of the first transfers I talked to in the spring, and he was just a hilarious guy. I can't remember exactly. I remember him saying basically like he had. I think he was from Utah. I'll have to look that up, but he had basically three options coming out of high school. He could either go play rugby in college, play football in college, or go play rugby professionally. And he wanted to play rugby. Went back and forth about it, and then he ended up going to Weber State and was an all-conference defensive end for like 2 seasons, and then he ends up. He said this is the first time I've ever heard somebody say this. He said that when he got in the portal, his coach at Weber State was like, hey, is there any school that you want to go to that hasn't contacted you? And he said, well, yeah, I want to go to Wyoming. And so they obviously, his old coach set up a meeting with Wyoming's coaching staff, and he ended up here, I think, like a week or two later.
Good stories. We appreciate the time, Alex. Thanks for joining us, and we look forward to the game this Saturday. Enjoy it.
Yeah, guys, appreciate the time.
All right.
Have fun this weekend. Appreciate it.
All right. Keep an eye on that ballot, too, Alex. We don't want you to have to explain anything. There it is. Feels like it's a minefield. Everybody's got a story. He's right. The apology, you were right, too. The apology, worse than the mistake. You had a problem with a basketball ballot once. He had a problem with a football ballot once. Fun week.
It happens.
It does. There you go. DJ and PK at 97.5 The Zone. When we come back, everything you missed in this show. We'll get you up to speed next. Stay with us.
It's game week for the Aggies, and the KSL Sports Zone is getting you ready for kickoff. Bronco Mendenhall and the Aggies return home to Logan to open up Mountain West Conference play with a showdown against Air Force. Listen all week long for the best coverage of Aggie football. Then catch the play-by-play action beginning with the Aggie pregame show game day at 6:30 on 1280 The Zone. Your exclusive home for Aggie football is live on air, online, and on the KSL Sports app. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone.
Dude looks like a lady? It's a song you chose. Yak chose Dude Looks Like a Lady. Da-da, da-da-da.
Time to get you up to speed, everything you missed in this show.
I want to get up to speed.
Your best take of this show. Choose from all those fabulous nuggets you have shared.
The AP poll means nothing, and we obsess over it. The obsession over nothing. How many times do you have obsession over nothing? It's just not that many times. And this is the classic example. Name me anything you obsess over that means nothing. Now, you could say broad-based sports. Because ultimately, sports means nothing.
Right.
To most of us. The folks who do it for a living.
Don't we obsess too much about the minutia in our life, and then when something
Minutia?
Minutia. And then something happens, and we say, well, that puts everything in perspective. And then PK says, I didn't need it put in perspective. Yes, but other people did. You have perspective at all times.
Well, not necessarily life, because I'm a flagrant offender on that. But sports, when there's some type of calamity or tragedy, and the coach says, oh, this puts it in perspective. No, you're a freaking coach. You're not that important. I don't need a national or local or personal tragedy to put sports in perspective. I've had sports in perspective virtually my whole life. So, but real life, I suck at. And I am the king of overreacting. And the good thing now is it takes me maybe 5 minutes to think, boy, that was stupid. Whereas before, I hung on to it. We were out golfing. I was with the old lady the other night, or other day, obviously, and I said something about something related to golf, and she just snapped at me. And I immediately said, you're absolutely right. What was I thinking? That was like 2 minutes ago, I said something stupid, and you slapped me back to reality. And thank you for doing it. But when it comes to sports, it just gets under my skin. Oh, that puts it in perspective. Why isn't it already in perspective? And don't tell me a guy who's making $5 million tells me to have perspective. The winning coach hardly ever says that. It's just the losing coach.
That'd be awesome. You just won the Super Bowl. Yeah. But I got to go visit some people in the hospital Wednesday. I don't know. It's just, I mean, really, this isn't that big a deal. That would be the best Super Bowl postgame ever. He'd be sitting there. If I were the poor slob on the other end of the microphone, I'm like, oh, what am I supposed to ask now? Well, about that pass in the second quarter.
Because really, it doesn't mean much.
I know.
It doesn't.
But the truth is, even when that's going on, mostly we end up protecting. Like if I walk up to you, and I've done this 100%, and there's something going on in your life that's bad, that you don't like, that's awful. How's it going, PK? Okay. You're just protecting me. You don't say, well, blah, 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 and list off 10 things in your life that are going sideways. And nobody does that. We say that. How's it going? Oh, you don't really want to know. You're right, I don't. Good to see you.
Hardly ever.
Yeah.
Maybe something.
You got to have a really good relationship with somebody.
And there's got to be the time.
And it's got to be the right time. There can't be anybody around.
It's not in the hallway.
Right. With all random people walking by.
Yeah.
Hearing you talk
Next
about
thing
whatever,
you know, you're sobbing.
Yeah, whatever crisis is going on. It's like, yeah, we all have to, we should all, that's where you're very good about, you're very precise with your words, right? And there are no assumptions. And if I summarize something and make an assumption along the way, well, you didn't say that. And then I go, I didn't. Most people would have known, but and in real life he wouldn't do it, but on the radio he'll absolutely call me out for that. But we should go up and say, hey, it's good to see you, instead of, how's it going? Because you don't really want to know how it's going. It's really good to see you.
Well, I would push back a little bit that you don't know. I mean, you don't want to. If the individual wants to share it, then I'm obliged as a human being to pay attention.
Yes.
But if the individual doesn't, in most cases they don't, then you just continue on with whatever you're doing. But if that person, and you know that person, and that person has something that he or she wants to share, I'm grateful that I actually have a relationship with that person, that he would or she would want to share something that is intimate, that is heartbreaking, troubling, any of those phrases and in between. So you got all that going on. So, but yeah, I get your point.
We just hit on Alex Taylor talking Wyoming football. We're all expecting this to be pretty lopsided. He votes Utah 12th in the AP Top 25. He's got a vote. And he says it's because he watched Devin Dampier at Wyoming last year.
He has a bias.
He does.
And it's not a bad bias.
I was going to say maybe he has information other people don't know.
We view the word bias as negative.
Yes, we do.
But it doesn't have to be. His bias is he sat there and watched this kid explode. What do you think he's going to think? It's like BYU fans jumped Kyle last year. He sat there and watched Colorado demolish his team.
And then he said they're the best team we faced.
Right.
And BYU fans are like, no, we are. Well, Kyle watched a 1-point game that swung on a couple of big plays in the fourth quarter. And a call that made him wish he wasn't in the Big 12. No, that was somebody else.
If that referee had his head screwed on, Utah clearly wins that game.
There it is.
Come on.
There it is.
We all know that, don't we?
Do we, though?
All the U fans do.
Which I consider myself one.
Right, but some people went to Mountain View would just go, do we, though?
Go Bruins.
You went to high school in the heart of Utah County.
You meant Mountain View Golf Course. I was thinking,
No. That was because Yock dropped a do we, though, which is his second best comment of the morning. Feed the national narrative was the best one. That was
Kraft.
the best.
Kraft's the narrative.
Oh, Kraft, my bad.
Yes. Yeah.
Misquoted your genius.
Just for
Shane.
you,
get it right.
On something that will, a way that you'll always remember that the word was Kraft, just think of the cheese company.
Okay. I thought you were going to say former Aztec football coach Tom.
No, I went more to your heart. Food.
Funny man.
So I get the Wyoming reporter, Alex Taylor, I think his name is, right? He saw Devin Dampier go off. And he went off. Go look at the numbers. You don't even have to watch the game. You just look at the numbers. Oh, that kid he went off. He had a phenomenal game. So I get that. I've got no problem with Utah being ranked 12th.
By him.
Or by anybody.
Yeah. And there are a handful of people who have them 11 or 12.
I would have them around 16-ish. I said when they debuted in the poll, I would have put them at 19.
And now you'd have them at 16.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just kind of picking numbers. They're in the running.
You and Zach Klein from WSB TV. He put them at 16.
Ooh, and that's on the other side of that big river. Go with the W's versus the K's.
It is. Other side of the Mississippi.
Why do they have that? Do you know? Why is it the W?
That's how they originally labeled them. Why, I don't know. I just know that was back 100 years ago. That's how they started labeling stations.
Yeah.
It's C in Canada, it's X in Mexico, it's W in the eastern U.S., and it's K in the western U.S.
When I moved to Arizona, man, that was a big adjustment for me. The W's to the K's. I was used to WPIX.
No WOR anymore.
WWOR, WABC, and so forth. And then you get out there. And then when I moved to California, I had to adjust again. It was KPHO. No, now it's KABC.
Oh, boy.
So they were the same as back in New York, only the K for the W.
Michael Lev at the Arizona Daily Star has the Utes 16, just like you, and the Devils at 25.
I think that's fair in both, but we're talking specifically for the Utes. The Devils, I mean, their problem is they're not fighting a loss to Mississippi State. They're fighting 50 years of history.
There it is. We don't really believe in you.
Right. You had a nice year last year. Good on you. But whoop-de-doo. You've done this before.
But have you backed it up ever? No. I mean, in the 70s and early 80s, yeah, but that might as well be 500 years ago.
All the TV stuff changed in 84 and changed recruiting, the Supreme Court case. So, yeah, you're right. 70s is a totally different set of rules, totally different era.
It was 86
and actually,
when the Cardinals moved.
Well, that was a big factor for ASU, right? Not for the whole sport, but for ASU.
Right.
But the whole sport was revolutionized again, basically in 2021 with NIL and the transfer portal. So everything changes here in the 20s. This decade is unlike any other decade.
Yeah, and I think if you look at their roster, it's still mostly 3 stars, a handful of 4 stars. They things broke their way last year. I always thought, man, if they can get 8 or 9 wins this year, I'll sign off on that right now. That's my expectation.
Done.
Yeah. But I don't want to hear every time Levitt throws an incomplete pass. Jeez.
George Kittle to the injured reserve. So the 49er tight end is out for at least 4 games with that hamstring injury, maybe more. And Brock Purdy, not sure of his status for this weekend. The injuries piling up for the 49ers.
Huh. Sucks for them.
Yep, there you go. There's your NFL. The Eagles, Jalen Carter will not get suspended. He missed almost all of that game. I mean, he wasn't going to play on the kickoff, I guess. and then he was out. So that was enough of a penalty for him. Apparently, the NFL says he's going to be able to play in week 2 here.
Well, then right on the board, promise I will never spit on a human being or animal again.
DJ and PK will come back with your feedback next. Stay with us. DJ and PK, it's time for your feedback. What do you have to say about today's show? Oh, man, this is awesome. People are now going through everybody's poll vote and criticizing. So we've had all this stuff this morning on the voter in Southern California who moved Florida up 2 spots after losing to South Florida.
It was a good loss, though.
Danny Cannell, another favorite pollster, meet Coco Riley from Baton Rouge. She has Alabama 2 spots ahead of Florida State, Florida 5 spots ahead of USF, and Arizona State's ranked, while Mississippi State is not.
Yeah, I have a problem with isolating one single game, though. When not that Florida should have moved up by losing. Mm-hmm. Comparing Team A to Team B, the ranking isn't just based on one game of the result of that game. The winning or losing is, and the playoff is, but
after 2 games, here's 3 examples where a team lost on the field but is ahead in the polls. After 2 games. And I get it. It gets confusing later in the year. If some team that's 4-4 beats a team that's 7-1, I don't necessarily want to rank that
season,
team.
I guess you have more of a leg to stand on.
Late in the year, just because a 4-4 team beats a 7-1 team doesn't mean the 4-4 team should jump over them in the poll.
No,
I get that.
But if that game was played in Tempe, do you think it would be the same? Are we not factoring in other things? Which team do you think is better? I can live with that to a degree. And as the season progresses, I can live with it more. I'm not that upset by that theory. That person or voter could say, well, yeah, I just think that they made a mistake here and, blah, blah, blah. You can rationalize it easier. That makes it, I don't necessarily agree with it 100%, but I can find see the rationalization and buy it. Or maybe they just figured, who gives a crap? It's 25th. Who cares?
Just write somebody down,
right,
and not think about it.
There's a certain poll that we had to do here for a few years. When I got to 45 and 50, I mean, come on.
I felt that way earlier, which is why I didn't want to do it. How can we possibly know this?
Well, I did it out of friendship because I was asked.
Yep. There are all kinds of theories. I think the most obvious theory is the correct one. Just made a mistake. Didn't look at last week's ballot. Looked at last week's poll, but didn't look at her own personal ballot from last week.
Maybe she got in a fight with her boyfriend. You never know.
Mr. Bogeyman says, we know you lost the race, but you still look bigger and faster, so we're just going to bump you up a couple of spots anyway.
And I think there's a lot of that. It's not, this is highly publicized and it seems outrageous, but we hear that doesn't, in defense of this young woman, doesn't the committee sort of do that sometimes when we get down? They go with the brand. You always go with the brand.
You're just assuming they're a bigger brand, so they're better. You have no idea if they're better.
The brand is so powerful, and I think you're right when it comes down to the committee. Absolutely.
Yeah. So she should have said that.
It's as clear as last year that BYU didn't get considered. Well, the 2 lost teams that weren't in the Big Ten or the SEC didn't get considered. The 2 lost teams that were in the Big Ten and were in the SEC, they got considered.
Yeah, brand.
Well, actually, they got in. So they not only got considered, they got in.
Yeah,
and you can look at the polls, and there was, depending on what team you talk about, anywhere from 4 to 8 or 10 spot swing based on, okay, you all have 2 losses, but which league are you in?
So she should have said, what are you criticizing me for? And recited all these other examples.
Except she knew she flew, so she got defensive.
Yeah, but that would have been right. The committee does this every freaking year, it seems like.
I really think that, and first off, there's a lot of mistakes in the poll, right? I mean, we didn't talk to that many people. So she made a mistake, and then you're immediately able to say, well, here's a mistake you made on the college basketball poll 20 years ago or whatever it was.
Right.
And then we have Alex on, and he tells us about a mistake he made in the poll last year.
I know.
So this stuff has happened all the time.
And she's all of a sudden this young gal who maybe not have the experience, and the microphone is in her face, the spotlight is on her. And you better act perfect.
I know. And now this other person is from Louisiana, I think. And they got 3 teams that lost on the field in the first 2 weeks of the season. They got them ranked higher than the teams they lost to. So this stuff is all over the place. All right, we're out of time. Jacob Bed coming up next right here on The Zone.